Hey everyone, I wanted to have a quick little hangout on some of the things that's been going on with the debates that are coming up and express a little bit of trepidation that I have in regards to me personally debating some of the people that have been wanting to debate. Um, and by the way, the link to come in is in the video description, or should be actually in the live chat, and I also put on the G+. Come on in and let me know what you think about it as well, and see if you can share my concerns, because recently there's been, like, for example, true empiricism going to be debating Dragnet, which of course we all want to see. I mean, let's be realistic. There's an entertainment factor there. And the last one that Dragnet had with G-Man, I mean, it got views, it got people watching. But when I debate somebody, normally though, I want the debates to be something where you actually have a potential of swaying the other person. My first debate was with Wayne Fillmore, and one of the reasons that I debated him is because I liked him, even though we kind of were at odds a little bit, because he was a younger creationist, and obviously I would mock him occasionally, but I had a lot of respect for Wayne. And you guys know by now that Wayne has earned a lot of respect. He's a real nice guy. And so I decided to debate him on Mac Revolution and hopefully point out to him why Mac Revolution was a real thing. That was a success. He came back later on, not even 2 hours later, and said, yeah, you looked into this and you were right, Steve. Mac Revolution's a real thing. And as we know, between myself and General Han Solo and many other people, he left Young Earth creationism, and now he accepts theistic evolution, which is fine. But he realizes that the science he was being taught wasn't science by Young Earth creationism. So I had a goal in mind there. I had actually an intent that if I'm going to debate somebody, I'm going to put a lot of effort into it. I spent several weeks researching that debate, that I wanted to see if I could get him to listen. I thought I could get through to him. Now, the other debate that I did was with Ronnie. Now, I know that I wasn't going to get through to Ronnie. That's why I just never really wanted to debate him. And I also knew that he didn't have a basic understanding of some of these things. And so I did debate him. And obviously I felt was not prepared for the debate. Matter of fact, he even said he didn't take it seriously, even though he'd been wanting this debate. He was busy tuning his guitar and just was not engaged in the actual topic that he picked, which I thought was a very dumb topic. And he's done the same thing. I think the title that he picked for the debate that he wants to have a Dragnet is just utterly, it makes no sense. It's something along the lines of, again, what describes what comports with reality, intelligent design or evolution or whatever. That's not a debate topic. A debate topic should be a proposition where one person takes the affirmative, the other person takes the disaffirming position or rejection of it, right? I don't know what this is going to, I don't know what they're going to have as a discussion with this. It's basically Ronnie just throwing out the same stuff that he always throws out, then Dragnet actually trying to give real science. And as Dragnet noted in his hangout today, when he had earlier, Dragnet's better at teaching than he is debating, I think. Dragnet wants to teach. He wants to be an educator. He's learning these things properly so he can explain it to other people. That's a different thing than debating. And this is not a slight against Drag by any stretch of the imagination, but he goes into these things thinking that he's going to teach somebody something, and we all know that's not going to happen. Now, I will give some compliments out there. I really do want to give props to G-Man, that lately he's been acting far more normal than I've ever seen him. I think that he wants to have a dialogue, and I think that he's trying to facilitate some kinds of dialogues, and I respect that. I don't agree with him, obviously, but I've noticed a change recently, and I don't know what it's from, where he's trying to take more of a stand back position, a neutral position per se, and have these conversations. And I like that. I really do. I don't know how long it's going to last, but you know, while it has, we're going to go with that. But my specific trepidations and my specific reservations of debating them, like G-Man wants me to do, is I don't know if it's more of a spectacle that is just for entertainment value, because, oh, look, Steve McRae is going to debate somebody. I have to want to debate somebody because I want to convince them of my position. And it takes a lot of research, a lot of time to do an actual debate. So I will, and I will debate somebody, and I probably even might take up Ronnie or G-Man up on their offer, but it has to be on a topic that I'm familiar with. I am not a biologist. I am not an evolutionary biologist. I know the concepts. I can explain to people concepts. But when you ask me technical details, I have to refer to the experts on it. I don't have that information readily at my fingertips. So when Nephilim Free wants specific papers dealing with, the Hox genes, I don't have that at my fingertips. But I know what the context is. I know what these things are. When somebody says, "Hey, Steve, you know about mutations? You know about homeobox genes?" Yeah, I got a basic understanding of it. But that's not enough to have a discussion on those topics, I don't think, in a debate format, especially as Dragnot poignantly pointed out, these other people like Nephilim Free and Ronnie don't understand these things, even basically. They're using these terms that are completely foreign to how I use them. So when they want to have a debate, I don't really think that's going to be conducive. I don't know what debate they want to have. Now, if they want to debate something like, okay, the pros and cons of nuclear power, or they want to debate how, a nuclear reactor works, I'm going to probably do a little bit better than that than I am debating them if evolution is true or not. I don't want to have a debate whether evolution is true or not. I know evolution is a fact that exists. I know without any qualms whatsoever or any hesitation to say, yes, evolution is a model that works. We have common ancestry. I don't really want to debate those things, though. What's that, David?
Did you presuppose evolution?
I presupposed astrology, actually. Yeah. Now, did you watch the other night with that guy that says you have to presuppose astrology before you?
Well, I started watching it 41 minutes. Like I got 41 minutes in. I'm pausing right now, but I wanted to. I was actually waiting until you were. Hang on. Never mind. Mine is muted. So.
What's muted?
There was an echo. I thought for some reason for some reason, but no, I was waiting until you're done saying that the reason why you got through Wayne was because he wanted, he, pardon the poor phrasing, he wanted to be convinced. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Wayne was willing to look at the actual evidence, and when we hear people like G-Man say, "Oh, there's no evidence for that," Nephilim Free, no evidence for that. There's 1.3 million papers written on this topic. There's textbooks galore written on these topics. But again, when you have a straw man version of something, then obviously you're not debating the same topic. I mean, if we want to debate the merits over like one thing or another in science, that's completely fine. But to debate whether evolution occurs or debate that the model works, I'm not down with that. I'd rather moderate a discussion. I'd rather talk about the subject. I'd rather have scientists come in and explain to people what evolutionary biology entails, what cladistics entails, or what even abiogenesis entails. I'm trying to take my channel in a direction, because we have a lot of new scientists coming into the GDC, believe it or not, that I wanted to get more educational and informative rather than these really nonsensical debates, because they're not debates. There's nothing to debate. Evolution is a reality, right?
Well, okay, yeah. There's still stuff to debate, just not whether it's true or not. Like, how do I put this? If the evolution is true, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
People are asking in the live chat. I just was noticing. Sorry, I was focused on things. First, the video about presupposing astrology was on Scholar Fiction's channel. He had a discussion with this really odd presupper of a kind I've never seen before. Most people presuppose God when they do presuppositional argumentation. No, not this guy. He presupposed astrology. And yet he didn't know what astrology meant, really. He didn't understand what it was. He honestly had no clue. He just read a dictionary definition of it and thought that you have to presuppose that we're on the planet Earth, therefore astrology. And I'm like, no, we don't presuppose we're on Earth. It's a conclusion, because I can, see that I'm on Earth, right? I can
see it, yeah. You didn't really understand what presuppose meant.
He didn't understand that word at all. And I tried to explain to him in the live chat, didn't work. Then I went in, and he was confusing presupposition with assumption with conclusion. And these are all different things.
To the whole education thing that Dragnot was talking about.
And that's it. Did you think that guy had any kind of, even a modicum of basic education? He failed out of homeschool.
Yeah, I don't know what level he was at, but it wasn't there.
Something was missing, right? Yeah. Somebody also asked, what's the Clown Car Posse? The Clown Car Posse, if you go to the Great Debate Community Wiki and type in Clown Car Posse Great Debate Community Wiki, you can get details on. It's a group of people that have met certain criteria that we kind of
Sorry
came
about
up
that.
with.
I was answering the phone.
That's fine. Certain criteria and some the things that are ubiquitous with people that are Clown Car Posse is that they overestimate their own ability, especially in science. They deny things like evolutionary biology, Big Bang cosmology. They deny all science, and then they actually have the audacity to say that they're promoting their own science, their real science. Like intelligent design is the real science, and screw all these people that actually go get PhDs in biology. No. If you don't accept intelligent design, you're not doing the real science. So that's what the Clown Car Posse is.
Getting back to Ron, he doesn't really. Damn it, he doesn't really want to learn. Whereas Wayne, somehow you got through.
Well, excuse me. So the difference was Wayne's not an idiot. Wayne has the ability to actually change his mind and to research and to look into things. I used to think Ronnie had that ability. Not gonna lie, a couple years ago, I thought Ronnie was like
Fiona. I mean, if I remember her saying that Fiona had thought that either Ronnie or someone else could learn. Like, she jokingly said, maybe I should win the Dumb Fuck of the Year award. I was like,
right.
Yeah, most of us thought Ronnie had the potential. I've subsequently, over the last year or so, have just completely abandoned all hope there. He doesn't. He absolutely doesn't. Now,
I think he still does. I think he still does. It's just he's too invested in this. He's too invested in this worldview he's in, and he has the respect of some adults, and he likes it.
If that's the case, though, does it really make a difference then? I mean, is there any difference between him having the ability to do so and not doing it, as opposed to just not doing it? I mean,
in that case, he's willfully ignorant.
He's willfully ignorant, sure, but
yeah.
I think he's not only willfully ignorant. I think there is some kind of disability there to learn, but still, it's kind of neither here nor there. The point being is that I don't know why he wants to debate Dragnot. I mean, what's going to come out of this? Because he didn't even stick around for the debate that he had with me.
No, other than him getting embarrassed again.
Well, I think
maybe he's a masochist. I don't know. Maybe he likes.
I'm not even sure that he really got embarrassed with you, Steve. I think he just was like, whatever, who cares? You'll go on.
Here's what I think is going to happen. Again, I've been pretty spot on in my predictions on these kinds of things. Although I did not see G-Man giving a citation for a fake news article. Didn't see that one coming. We'll give.
Still laugh at that.
Yeah, but I think that Ronnie will probably end up going in a new direction of things that nobody's ever really dived into. I mean, he started going like neurology, right? And he started going into some more detailed stuff that most people have no clue about. And he's going to memorize, like 3 or 4 paragraphs about a topic.
Yes, he's good at Googling.
Yeah.
Or read, or just read the abstract.
Yeah, there's no in-depth knowledge there. And this is the thing. Look if he wants to pretend that he's knowledgeable of these topics, then why doesn't he have a Q&A with people that know these topics? Bring in Doc Savage, bring in Sam, bring in Fiona, and let them just ask him questions. That's it. Ask him questions. Okay, can you explain to me this particular cycle? Can you explain to me how this works? Can you explain to me what this is in biochemistry?
I think that wouldn't go very well. I mean, even if they were just to ask him questions, there'd probably be questions that he wouldn't be able to answer.
Well, that's a given, though. But see, Midnight, here's the difference. He's professing to know about these topics. I, on the other hand, I'm the first person to say I don't have a great understanding of a lot of these topics. I have a modicum. I have basic level knowledge.
Yeah, not to go solipsist on you, but I don't understand anything. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, but I don't know.
But my point is that if they were to ask me technical questions about biochemistry, I'm not going to have a clue. But the difference is, if they had a lecture on biochemistry, I'm going to be able to take notes and be able to figure out what they're talking about, and most of the time probably be able to have some concept of what's going on.
I would
write down questions.
I would at least sit down and listen to their lecture like I did with Fiona.
Right. They won't. Right? I mean, Tommy didn't even want to listen to them talk about cancer, and yet they were trying to educate him.
Yeah, though. Yeah, that. By the way, that thread is still going.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure it is. I quit paying attention to it about.
He's trying so hard to win.
Posts ago.
Once again, the link to join is in the live chat. People have been asking me to try to minimize the amount of people that come in. They like this. They seem to like 5 people is the optimal. Now, the problem with that is that I know a lot of people want to join, so I don't mind having 10 people to hang out. I don't think I'm going to be having the 15, 20 mans any longer. It's just too much.
Yeah.
Maybe for like a huge event if I ever, get my 10,000 subs. But other than that, I like the small amount of people. I find it to be less of a clusterfuck. You know what I'm saying?
And people like me, like if it's a topic that I know nothing about, I'm not going to come in. I'm going to go on the outside. Look, I might come in for a second if you guys are talking about something that's interesting, that I might be able to say something. But otherwise, I'm going to listen. And then if it's something I can comment on, I'll jump in, and then I'll give room for other people to.
I think that's how most people are. I mean, most people generally listen to these discussions, and they listen to my hangouts especially because you never know what's going to happen. First of all, you don't know what the topic's going to be, and there's usually something of interest going on. We have a lot of educated people that have just a great way of explaining things, and some people learn stuff just by listening in, right? So,
yeah.
What's that?
I think you missed the joke. I said, too bad I'm not one of them.
Yeah. No, you got to be. I'm the one that kind of has a self-deprecating personality, not you.
There you go.
Believe me, Steve, you don't know me that well, do you? Guess not.
Syllable count. My syllable count per word is getting really good. No.
But we do have, like I said, I just put a post on Facebook where a lot of new scientists are coming in to talk on this particular Facebook group that I'm in, and I've invited them to join us. And so I really want to go back to the having guest things. I have a couple people lined up starting in 2018, and I think that's going to be the direction that I particularly want to go, because I think I think most people have more interest in listening to a hangout where you're having a conversation with somebody who does know what they're talking about, and you get to ask them questions in real time, right?
I think the great debate community is actually a real confidence booster too, because I remember when I first came on, like the first time I actually joined a hangout that was live, I was like nervous as all get out, like, oh my gosh, I'm on YouTube, and anybody could sit down and watch me and hear me talk. And I missed Skylar's hangout yesterday because I was literally on another hangout with Eseth. So, that kind of puts that in perspective. And I'm like, I was on a hangout with Eseth. And that just blows my mind.
And I don't delete my hangouts either. So whatever you say is out there for posterity. And by the way, Saunders, thank you. Saunders is in the live chat. He says, I'm 100% a listener and learner. Love doing things around the house while your hangouts are live. That's actually the most common thing I get, believe it or not. People like to listen to these hangouts when they're just venting around the house. So that's cool.
I'll listen
a lot of homebodies in this group.
I'll listen to Drag sit there and yammer on while I'm doing stuff. I mean, or I'll get in and talk. Depends on my mood.
Yeah. I've been way too deep into flat earth hangouts. I mean, I just got out of one. I got out of one to come jump in here. Like, I've been in Nathan Oakley's hangouts.
I can't do that, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm getting into it now, though.
Funny you say that, Tony, because I actually, after Eseth left her hangout, I was actually in that hangout after she went offline. And we talked for like 5 hours, the guys and me in there. In her hangout for like 5 hours after she went off the air.
I was going to jump in that too. I'll do that next time, because I see every time she goes live, I want to jump in there.
Well, did you guys listen to the hangout last night? Did you guys see when Kyle came in? Were you guys there?
I was working last night. No, I finally got a job. Woohoo!
Just curious. I mean, because I think it's kind of out of the bag by now that Kyle's writing a documentary about the great debate community and various people that are on YouTube that have different varied positions. And it's going to be a 4 or 5 part series, and it might just be a bigger than that. It might be something he does where he just picks some random people and then has interviews with them. And I think it's a great idea, because everybody who comes in has their own story to tell. Everybody, all you guys have your own story to tell. And I think whether you're a big player or a small player, that story should go out. If you're brave enough and balls enough to come into a hangout and know that what you're saying is being recorded for all of posterity until YouTube goes under like VidMe. You know, I think it's worthy of having that out there, and people should get to know.
I hope it doesn't go under, because I don't know what I'll do. I love YouTube. I don't watch any other TV. Like,
no, that's kind of a joke, but VidMe
yeah, I know.
doors, or there is putting the doors. So, but YouTube's had problems obviously with their advertising. I mean, obviously people have been pulling out left and right. So, who knows?
But it's just an amazing platform. Just everything. It's got everything. Anything I want, I can go and I can jump on a hangout. I can listen about it. It's great. And then from there, I go on and investigate more. You know.
Let me ask you, what kind of guests do you want? Because I mean, I'm having a lot of guests coming. I'm making multiple arrangements right now, and I mean like a dozen so people in the next couple months or so. So, what do you want to see?
Man, that's a good question.
I'm kind of like all for the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing, so that's a foregone conclusion.
Well, that's obviously going to be an Emperor Atheist's hangout.
Right.
But I mean, if I could ever get him into mind, that would be great. But
well, I'm just, like I said, I'm like on a globe and Earth science and kind of kick right now. So whoever would be good in that aspect. Like I'm in these rooms. There's some really smart people out there. You know, like I like Curved Water. He's pretty good.
Well, I know Midnight wants more of the PPTs, the PowerPoint presentations done, and that's usually done on the other channel, the Great Debate Community channel. And I'm going to start doing those again. Don't worry. I also have people coming and doing their own presentations. Just the other day, Doc Savage said he might do something like that. So I think that if I can get people to come in and say, you know what, I have a topic, I want to explain to people this, I think that would draw views. I think that'd be interesting because I want to learn more.
Yeah.
I think we all do. So.
Yep.
Barney.
I haven't seen him in a while. I haven't seen Barney in a while.
Hey, Barney.
Hi, guys.
Wait. There we go. Okay.
We're starting.
So, Barney, what do you think about the debate? I mean, do you think that? Yeah, I know we now got politics involved in the Great Debate Community. That's going to be interesting. I'd love to get like started on or somebody like him to talk about this stuff. But anyways, what do you think, Barney, about these upcoming debates that G-Man wants to get back into and Ronnie wants to start having? I know that I need a debate because it's I'm the owner of the Great Debate Community. I got to debate every so often, but it takes so much effort because I want to do them right. I don't want just to go in and have a discussion. I want to have an actual debate, and that's so difficult to do sometimes. But
you are so different from me.
What's that, Barney?
I still don't want to have a debate. I so want to have a discussion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
An exchange of ideas.
Yeah, I hate formal. Like all this, like 10, 20 minutes till I hear the other side. I do not like that. I'm
not a fan of them, but people do want to do them.
No, the thing that I think would be awesome for GDC as our GDC would be if people would come in one-on-one and present their thoughts and ideas and just like talk to a friendly interloper that will suss them out and seek out what they really believe and what they hold to and what are they certain of and what they're not.
Are you wanting to be that interloper?
Absolutely.
Well, and that's funny.
By all means.
That's exactly kind of what we're going to be doing, dude.
Like, I do believe that with some of the more polite people, it could be possible.
And then open it up for discussion after, like a little bit after the one-on-one's over. And
I think what we're going to be doing is, because we got new people coming in, is that we're going to throw them right into the arena, so to speak, and they're going to come in, and myself and a few other people, one of which is going to be this guy Kyle, are going to conduct some kind of like polite interview with them. Get the feel for the positions, what they think, what they want to argue for, and then kind of open it up, right? And then it brings in more to the community, brings in more diversity to the community, because right now I'm just burnt out with having to deal with the Clown Car Posse, because they have nothing to offer any longer. It's fun, don't be wrong, we mock them, but as far as like debating them, I don't really see a need to. I don't see a point. I don't see.
Yeah, we need to debate more quality, like more
value.
quality people, a lot more quality. You know, and they have no quality over there.
Oh, am I getting a broken link?
I mean, you know, I gotta tell you, Pilot Man so far seems like he could really
Have his own freak show. No.
he could lead the Clown Car Posse. He could drive it.
We found the leader.
He's got potential there. Not gonna lie, I think that if he actually became a member of the Clown Car Posse, G-Man. Yeah, he would get his own wiki page. I would actually write it myself.
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if if anybody here saw G-Man on the Geek Room.
Yeah, I did.
I watched most of it. Yeah.
And it was really interesting because Trevor Vernon, he was sitting there talking to G-Man, and he had like this it was eerily calming effect on G-Man. It was like watching.
But he was really intoxicated though, and he's kind of screwing up the conversation.
Well, I told you, G-Man's been a little bit more mellow than usual.
Right. And
I like it. I wish he was like that more often. I don't like his high-strung manic phase that he gets into. I don't like it at all. I'd rather have a communication with him. I'd rather have the ability to talk to G-Man and, have a conversation. But when he gets into his manic phase, that's impossible.
Well, what I gathered from it was that G-Man is 100% knows what he's doing. This is all a show. And that's what I gathered from that. He knows exactly what he's doing and how to do it. He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. This is who he wants to be. He's picked out his persona and he's doing it. He doesn't care if he's wrong or right.
Credit, but that's okay.
That's what I gathered out of it, though.
No, he knew exactly what to say to Trevor.
Yeah,
and Trevor, Trevor was intoxicated. Trevor knew what he was doing too. Don't kid yourself. Trevor's not stupid.
Yeah. No, not at all. He was drinking a little too much. I was talking.
No, he's supposed to be drunk on that show. It's drunk Trevor.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're right.
That's the whole point of him being on the Geek Room is to be for him.
He was just repeating himself way too much.
I'm going to be on the Geek Room. I think next week.
I think I will be too because I got like sometime soon because I won that little thing or whatever.
I want to give G-Man credit for apologizing to Red. I was like, that was totally surprising. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I saw that too, and that's another thing. Kind of took me back a little bit.
Did?
Yeah, no, he did. He recognized that he needs to stay the hell out of Red's and Hana's relationship. So, maybe he is maturing a little bit.
He's growing up.
Victor,
a little whippersnapper.
Well, I mean, if he holds to it, that's my concern. Is that you hear these things from these people, but then a week later they're back to their usual antics again, right?
Yeah.
So.
This is just a gleam of what they really.
Why is everybody saying my link
really
is
have?
valid? I keep giving them the link to get in, but that's
the link in the live chat doesn't work. The link in the G Plus works fine.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to go get it from the G Plus then. I'll give you my other one, but I don't know if that's gonna work. Try that link, but yeah, you just might have to go to the GDC to get in.
I also tried going in through the live chat and was utterly unsuccessful.
Bad link still? I don't know why. That's the links here.
Steve?
I had problems with the live chat too. Come to think of it, I had to go through the Hangouts.
All right, well, go to the GDC and then the link is posted there, so at least you can get in that way.
Steve, I'm not fully up to speed with the Clown Car Posse in terms of what is it that you're having the problem with it. Is it when they try to come with their philosophical or scientific basis, or is it the fact that they're
really scientific?
Yeah, I know, but they think it is.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
No, it's not that.
Or is it to do with their theological basis?
No, I don't mind the theological basis they have at all. I mean, obviously, like people like General Han Solo has a theological position that I'm obviously not in agreement with. I'm not a concordance by any stretch of imagination, but at least General can talk about the science, right? I just don't really think debating these guys on evolutionary theory is really something I really want to do. I'm not a biologist. I don't ever want to be a biologist. I mean, if they want to have a discussion on whether, you know, the fusion site exists on human chromosome number 2, or if there's evidence for common descent, then let them have discussions with these people that study these things, but let them be available to answer these hard questions. I've never seen anybody pick the brain of true empiricism on his biological knowledge and say, "Oh, let me ask you these questions."
No,
Nobody's
I mean,
ever done that. They've never sat down and done that.
That's the bit that I was trying to get to, because I didn't really understand what the issue was, because it sounded from the title of the hangout that it's like, oh, I can't be asked with them anymore. But it depends on what they're talking about, and I can completely understand you when you're saying they come out with these bloody claims, and they claim it's to do with some kind of scientific basis, and they claim to beat science with their whatever argument it is, and we know they're talking bollocks. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, that's it.
I do have a concern. Yeah, I do have a concern that we're losing the theists in the GDC, and it is starting to make this very much a talking shop of non-theists.
I don't know if we're losing the theists. I think we're getting a higher quality theist, and that's what I'm looking for. I don't want the fruit on the ground any longer. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy talking about young creationism and showing people why young creation is wrong. And I think we all enjoy that. But I don't want the claim your inheritance type to come in all the time. I don't want the Nephilim free type. I don't want that kind, because it gives me a headache at this point. It really just does, because they're not even on a level to even talk about these things, I don't think.
You're right.
It's like Jackson said, you have to explain to them so many things that they get wrong that you never get to the heart of the matter. Hey, Jackson, by the way, welcome, by the way.
Hello. Thank you for letting me join. Hello, everyone.
I love that. Thank you for letting me join. No, you're welcome to join.
I actually spoke to Nephilim Free last February on a Skype call that we didn't record. It was my first time talking to someone who wasn't asking me for math homework on Skype. But but his whole argument against evolution were clips he'd taken from, I believe it was National Geographic. That was the entirety of his argument.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what they do. I mean, they just take something and they kind of run with it and then bastardize it, I think.
So I don't have a problem debating people who are just uninformed, but that's kind of not what you guys are talking about today.
No, we're talking about people who we've repeatedly tried to inform but will not allow themselves to be informed.
Right. So exactly, though. So, I mean, how do you deal with that? Do you just not debate those people, or you just go through the same
question I'm asking.
Show every time?
I mean, and by the way, Sabella popped in and then she popped out, so I don't know if she can get back in. Sabella, come on in, because I haven't really had a chance to talk to you. But anyways, yeah, no, look, I mean, there's so much unresolved things already out there. I mean, why do they want to debate evolution? I'm serious, and I know people are going to cringe, but I'd rather have G-Man and Ronnie explain some of the stuff they've been promoting for last year. Explain to us still how DNA goes into solution and then falls apart like tissue paper. I want to know that. I'm curious. I know a lot of people have bored with that, but I think it's a fascinating thing that they're claiming.
But evolution is a key thing in theology because of creationism. It's an absolute key aspect to their worldview.
Right.
To discuss it.
Yeah, you have to.
To them, it is the great debate. Creationism.
Are you guys gradualists or punctuated equilibriumists?
I don't even know what that means.
They're kind of, I mean, you don't have to be one or the other. You can kind of be both.
Yeah, both exist.
Yeah, seems like real world actually points to both.
Yeah. You can look at foraminifera and you can see evidence of both gradualism and punctuated equilibrium, depending on your whichever particular species you're looking at.
By the way,
fossil record.
Mark says, "Hooray, Steve! The penny has dropped. The CCP are pointless group of willfully ignorant work stains." Well, wank stains. I'm sorry, wank stains. Must be a British thing. Who have nothing left to offer, or who have nothing less than excuse me, God dang it, who has less than nothing to offer of any value in any debate. Yeah, I get that, Mark. And I've been trying to point that out. That look at, I don't see the point of having formal debates with these guys. If they want to come in and have discussions, fine. If they want to like run their shit, okay, whatever. But I'm not going to spend 2 weeks of my time getting prepared for debate and diving into the material and getting everything prepared and making presentations to debate one of them. Now, if Heavy Hollow wanted to debate on something, they're like, what's better, Star Wars or Star Trek? I might consider that, but I'm not. I'd rather do something I'm interested in to have a debate with.
Well, it's not a matter of wanting to silence people or deplatform them or anything. It's a matter of having already had the discussion.
Well, what's so bad is you run into this wall. They ask us all these questions about how does evolution work, and people tell them as best they can. Abiogenesis, what's the hypothesis for abiogenesis? And little bits of evidence for that, even though it's not really a theory yet. But still, people try to tell them what they do know, and if they don't know, they'll point them in the right direction. You ask them a question about baraminology or kinds, and what do? You hit this, you keep hitting in a wall. And that is so frustrating. They will not answer direct questions like that, just like flat earthers will not give you a model of flat earth.
Well, Heavy, even if you ask them about abiogenesis, for example, I've asked G-Man, what do you think the Urey Miller experiment was about? He keeps on saying it was a failure, and I'm like, then you don't understand the experiment. It was not a failure. In fact, it was a huge success in the fact that it did produce these complex carbon things, 6, I believe, amino acids, and then they've done multiple experiments with different types of atmospheric conditions and found, I think, 20 in one of them, and they even went back to the original and found more. That's
it was a raging success. It was a raging success. It was beyond successful.
Right. So that's the kind of questions I want to ask them, right? I want to say, okay, G-Man, what was it about it that was a failure? Because they have these misunderstandings. Like they think that the Urey Miller experiment was supposed to make life. Okay, if that was the case, then where in the abstract for it does it say that's what the point was? The experiment had nothing to do with creating life.
How many times do you have to have the same discussion with people over and over again? I mean, I understand that the whole YouTube community, the atheist community, it's huge, and there's so many people that we have to continue talking about this. But how many times do you have to have the same discussion with the same person who just refuses to listen or even do their own homework?
And Snuffy, that, though. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Another point, and I forget who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody about this on the Discord yesterday. And they were saying, well, why do we have these awards and so forth? And it's kind of mean, or I think it was Carrie. Yeah, it was Carrie. But I think the point of actually pointing this out and having these debates with these specific individuals is to bring to light their bad ideas, because there are other people watching us that aren't necessarily part of the great debate community. There's unknowns that watch this. So if we point out that, hey, this is a stupid idea and it's a bad idea and it's the wrong answer, and enough people are convinced that it's a wrong idea, then we've actually helped others become educated in it.
But you have to have debates with them to do that. Like I agree when it comes to debate. I like debates, but I mean, I'm trying to arrange right now. I'm trying to arrange one between PZ Myers and Dr. Fuzz Rana. Right? That's a debate.
That's a debate. We have to have real debates. Done one before. This would be their second. We actually have to have real debates, honest debates that actually get to a point. And then we have to have these I can't say the word right. Farcical debates.
Well, the med student thing calls them derp debates.
Derp debates, that's a good one. Derp debates to kind of point out, hey, this is a farce. These people are not worth listening to. It basically is what it's going to point out to. We call them a Clown Car Posse. They are there for laughs, basically point blank. And if you go to their channel and listen to their drivel, their bollocks, then you are going to garbage in, garbage out, basically.
Okay, that actually answers an earlier question of mine, because I didn't know the origin of that Clown Car Posse name. So All right.
Yeah,
No,
Alex
no.
Baldwin actually coined that.
I agree 100%. But man, it gets frustrating.
I mean, this is all my point of view, and I completely agree with it. But I'm trying to look at it from their point of view. And their point of view is they could repeat absolutely everything that you said just from the theist point of view. They don't understand what we're saying. They don't understand that God actually made all of these things and has done them so that they look like this, and they are just falling for it. They are worshipping science, and they just don't know the truth. They have got exactly the same argument back at the atheists, just like we're all saying here. But we call them the Clown Car Posse, and we say they just can't get it. We go until we're blue in the face. We tell them this stuff time and time and time again. Frankly, they're saying the same thing. We tell them time and time and time again until they're blue in the face.
Well,
the Bible is the truth.
Well, I get that, but here's the thing. Look, at most people that have had these subjects can at least go into a classroom and answer questions, right? If you get a quiz, you get a test, you're able to answer certain questions. If you give somebody a question on physics or biology or astronomy or whatever, you're able to answer certain basic questions on a quiz. I don't think any of them could answer even the most second grade question. And that's the difference. If you don't know anything about the topic, how are you pontificating on it to the point where you're telling people that all of science is wrong?
Because,
by the way, we have a very special guest in the live chat. By the way, do you guys notice who's in the live chat? Darwin's Deity's dog. How long has it been since Darwin Deity's dog has been able to come out and play? I mean, the poor thing gets like chained up by Darwin's Deity and never let out. You guys don't know Darwin's Deity's dog? Millie, I think isn't it Millie? You guys remember? No?
Sounds like a sock account to me.
You guys don't know Darwin's Deity's dog. Oh my goodness. Oh well. Well, Darwin's Deity's dog is good to see you. I'm really sorry that your master is a piece of shit. So and I like the fact Darwin's Deity's dog is a cute little dog. I mean, he goes around, shits all over Darwin's Deity's slippers.
And he comes in real handy when Darwin gets backed up against the wall. Oh, I got to go walk my dog.
Yep. At least he does get walked.
That's the only time he gets a walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he hasn't been around for a while, so.
But I know exactly what you're saying, Steve, but you're saying it from your point of view only.
Well, of course. It is my point of
view.
Sure.
And it's my point of view, and it's everyone else's point of view that's currently in this hangout.
But at what point? At what point do we? I mean, we provide references. We have, we have education, scientific history. We provide references, and people just refuse to engage in honest debate. How do you deal with that?
What do you mean by honest? What do you mean by honest?
Well, when I say honest, I mean actually taking your time to study a subject, even if it proves that you are wrong or right. But when you hear the same ignorant arguments from the same person over and over again, it tells me that they're not doing their homework. They're just arguing dogmatically.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
and that's exactly what they do. Sure.
Has anyone seen the new Genesis movie that just came out, Paradise Lost?
I have not yet, but I would like to.
It's awful. Don't waste your money at the theaters. Just wait till it comes out on Netflix.
I'm not wasting a dime on that.
I made that mistake. My girlfriend and I made that mistake. But anyways, I made a YouTube video about it a little while back, and I pointed out because one of the fallacies that they throw out there is what my friends call the interpretations fallacy. We have the same exact data. We're just looking at it with different presuppositions. And so I make this video and I explain why this is a fallacy, why we're not, in fact, looking at the same data. And then a creationist came along and just said in my comment section, we do have the same data. We're just looking at it from different presuppositions.
They don't have the same data. No, the data they have is skewed, to say the least.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can go to the if you go on Answers in Genesis, for instance, they love their crowd of PhDs, like Andrew Snelling and Georgia Purdom, and they'll cite technical papers. Well, Georgia Purdom actually has. I know.
No, she does. She does.
Yeah, and Andrew Snelling studied under Stephen Jay Gould, but they'll cite these technical papers as their arguments, but then if you actually read the papers they're citing, it doesn't actually support their arguments.
No, in a lot of cases, it refutes their arguments.
And then that's
Exactly.
a big surprise, right? It's like, wow. That's why I think that they're all duplicitous.
Yep.
That's why you're never going to get Georgina on here. You're never going to get Snelling on here. I've talked to Snelling. I haven't talked to Georgina, but I've talked to Snelling. I've talked to Tompkins. I've talked to Bumgardner. I've talked to all of them. None of them will ever go into a forum where they're not in a young earth creationist type setting. They don't want to be asked the harder questions. You know?
Yeah, so that's just it. They come up with this stuff, and the people that follow them swallow it hook, line, and sinker, and don't bother doing the research on their own. That's what they count on. These people are going to be, okay, well, I'm a fellow Christian, and I'm supposed to be a scientist, and I can say this stuff, and they're going to believe me. So they're not going to bother with what the atheist or someone that's in the field of science it is. They're not going to do the research. So they're like win-win. You know, hey, we're bad. We got a following. Whoops, sorry.
And that goes back to what I was saying. We need to keep pointing out that it is flawed, and we need to keep pointing out that, hey, you know, this is what's actually happening, and this is the reality, and we need the honest theists that can actually fit. Hey, it's okay to believe in God and believe evolution. It's okay to believe in God and be a theist, and it's okay to believe in God and say believe in the Big Bang, for example. That stuff
we're gonna continue to do that. I mean, that's a big part of the GDC. I mean, I've said it before, even though people can come argue what they want, but the GDC is actually still to promote actual science and education. There's no getting around that. I don't want the GDC to be, oh, well, you know, everybody has to be neutral. We have to accept alternative viewpoints like young earth creationism and flat earth. No, we don't.
No, we don't. And there was, who was it? I was on MP's channel with Midnight Sparkle the other night, and there was this guy on there. We came to the conclusion he was a militant atheist, because he was just like, why do Jade and Fiona get
you mean Phoenix Nelson.
Phoenix Nelson, that's who it is. And I was just like, why is this guy saying they get a pass because he was using the argument for evil, and he's saying all Christians are bad inherently. He was basically attacking the religion.
Yeah, the argument from evil only really kind of applies to a certain deity anyways, but yeah, I don't see the point of attacking theists that I agree with them scientifically, right? I'm not going to go after Fiona or Jade because of theological beliefs. It's not my thing. I have no reason
he was saying, he was basically saying, why don't you go after them? You go after Tommy Hall, and I think he mentioned, I don't know, I got to go back and watch it, but
he did mention Tommy, but you know, it's like we go after Tommy and Ronnie and Nephilim Free, and because they have bad ideas. And finally, I just shut it down.
Bad ideas.
I'm like, okay, the minute I hear Jade and Fiona put forth a crappy idea, I'll go after their crappy ideas.
Yeah, it's like, what?
And by the way, though, Jade and Fiona and like those guys, they don't really talk a lot about some of their personal beliefs, and I'm fine with that, right? And when they do, people do, you know, have conversations with them. They do go after them.
Exactly.
But Fiona's not here to preach her Catholicism. Neither is Jade.
No,
that's not what they're here for. So why bring that to the forefront? If they want to make it an issue, they can discuss it. If they don't, that's up to them. But I don't see the need to bring their theism into a discussion if that's not what the positions that they're advocating for.
That's actually one of the things I really like this channel for, is that while I don't agree with people on this channel, I don't have to agree with them on every point for us to reach a consensus on some points.
Yeah, you got to pick your battles too. I mean, like, look at, we do have a lot of atheist activists that come to this channel, and I'm friends with a lot of them, and I respect a lot of them. I think they have great channels, even though I slightly disagree on their approach on some of them. It's okay, but I'm not here to advocate a particular position theologically. I'm not an activist when it comes to that. I don't want to be. If I did, I'd have a much bigger channel, I assure you. But it's not my thing. And yet you get militant atheists that are just so focused on, oh, well, these people believe in God. They must be inherently evil and wrong and bad, and let's attack them. Well, I don't think that's conducive to having them on your side when it comes to having the sciences, right? I'd rather have somebody be a theist and that agrees with me scientifically, because I can use them as a resource to explain to people why their pseudoscience is bad, and then people will start maybe leaving their bad beliefs, right? And I'm not saying that religion is bad or good, but if that is the case, if atheism is the correct propositional belief, then that's what's going to come out of it, right? And I don't advocate one position or another because of that very reason, though. I'm like, let it manifest itself naturally to somebody.
Well, if you take it one actual argument at a time, one actual discussion at a time, then you reach clarity. In the end, you can actually agree to disagree or not. But unless you actually just take it one argument at a time, then you're dealing with dogma and reflex reactions.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said there. I think a lot of it is dogma and just regurgitation of reflex when people just throw out something like, oh, this person said this. This is the actual response I should give them. I like seeing much more organic conversations. I don't like scripted shit. Because I can tell you right now, there's certain people, I can tell you exactly what their answer is going to be right after being asked something.
And when you watch, I haven't been into the atheist debate or community for more than a couple of years, but making up for lost times. But when you watch a lot of these formal debates, you just hear the same things over and over again.
Very little variety.
Because the formal debate, people aren't actually taking the time to go in depth into what they're actually talking about. You're just hearing talking points.
Ken Hovind.
Yeah, no, but it is the same though. I can literally tell you what these guys are going to answer most of the time because I've listened to them so much, right? And by the way, yeah, Lucas, come on in. We are going to have some more hangouts on street epistemology. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm trying to do some live man on the street stuff with somebody. Her name's Tiffany, who lives not 12 miles from here. And I don't want to do street epistemology. It's just nothing that I particularly wanted to do, even though I'm fascinated by it. I love Anthony Magnabosco's videos. I find them to be extremely enjoyable, and I binge watch them. But I want to do something more along the lines of just getting a feel for what the average person thinks, the average person wants to talk to, how the average person views some of these things. Not trying to convince them that they're right or wrong, but just getting an idea out there of what, when they hear these things, what they think. So her and I are brainstorming a way of actually doing that, hopefully coming up here next year, which would be nice. Some of you guys might know her, but she's been in the DGC for a while. But that'd be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? Anyone?
Nobody.
Wow, okay, so that idea got shot to hell.
Sorry, I was typing on digital and wasn't listening.
By the way, Shannon, you can drop in too. Shannon Q's in live chat. She hasn't been hanging on a while. She's quote unquote friends with Pelagia, but she's in live chat. She's heavy into this stuff.
Who is Shannon Q?
Oh, Shannon Q.
Shannon Q. Yeah.
She has not been in one of my hangouts for quite some time. She'll only come in here when Pelagia is in here. That's probably why. We got room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we got room. Boy, this is like real quiet. You know what? It's been kind of a mellow lately. Have you guys noticed that? I think going into the Christmas season, it's been that was way every year. Is like
seasonal depression.
It is seasonal depression.
Tired. Nobody wants to talk.
Well,
no, and I get that. And then also in January, it's a whole different ballgame, right? So.
Sorry, Steve. My computer was just causing me a few problems, so I was missing and cutting out on what you were saying earlier. I'm quite happy to talk a bit more.
Shannon Q is actually asking for the link.
Yeah, go to the GDC G Plus because I guess it's not working from the live feed. Yeah, I can try and let's see if this
worked for me. It finally worked for me. That's how I got in.
Did it work for you in the live chat?
Yeah, I think the last time you posted it.
All right, let me try this again.
Okay, I found my head.
Yeah, I'm hoping to bring a whole bunch of new people in next year. I mean, we might double our size easily. And now that we're going to be again mentioned in a podcast, I'm actually might be starting a podcast with somebody. We're actually in the developmental stage of a few things, and we're going to be mentioned in a magazine. So that might bring some very affluent, influential people to the Great Debate community, hopefully.
Well,
of course, G-Man's being mentioned too. So
this is my first time poking my nose in here. So if you guys want me to step out so that you can start some other debate, I'm fine.
No, stick around. Stick around.
I would like to ask something though, if people don't mind.
Go ahead.
Waiting with great anticipation.
Okay, well, I've always been curious. What would you accept as proof of the existence of a God?
I don't like using that word proof because I don't think that that's an applicable word. As far as like evidence for God, I've always maintained that to me it has to be more subjective. Who was it the other day that was in here saying, "Look, if God exists," I think it was David, but that it would be because of the Holy Ghost. And look at it. So if that's a legit thing, right? And I get that's subjective. I totally understand that. And you can't say, well, here's one person, God's telling you one thing, but the Muslim, he's telling him something else. I mean, if you accept one position, you kind of
okay. Put all that on the shelf. Let's not say that any one particular religion is right or wrong. It's just that if there's a God out there, what would that God or some kind of evidence or proof that God is for real?
That it would be from him. I look at it this way, and I think that most people kind of do. If God is such an omnipotent being, that he's going to know what it takes to convince me enough to believe in him.
Exactly.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's a rational.
I know that that's the correct answer, but
it's a form answer. I get that, right? It is a form answer. I'm not going to deny that. But that particular form answer does make sense to me.
Well, this is the reason why I asked, is because
my personal answer is different, but
being on both sides of this issue, being the devil's advocate for the atheist and being, a theist, I would like to know what would constitute what would be convincing that's physical, that's something that say a scientist would accept or like all the things.
I don't think there ever will be. I don't think there actually can.
That was my concern, is that
consistent and reliable prophecy.
The other side,
prophecy would be
a good one.
Pretty close.
Yeah, but the reason being is this: look at let's take it hypothetically. If God exists, do you think that He really wants people to have a belief in Him from a scientific perspective and be able to be measured and quantified? That kind of just takes away from the whole basis of faith that He talks about in the Bible. I see them to be incompatible with each other.
Well, I mean, who says? Okay, maybe I shouldn't go there. But if there is a God, why would He use such an ineffective way to spread His message?
Well, I don't think faith is what it means now is what it used to mean then. To me, faith is just to have confidence in something, but the modern terminology that when people use the word faith, they mean to believe in something without any proof. But if that's what the definition of faith is, then I have none.
Yeah, I agree with several other people, and then with Steve too. If there really is a creator God or whatever out there, it doesn't have to be the Christian or the Muslim or this, that, or whatever. If there really is something out there, then it's on him to go, hey, here I am. Somehow it would be obvious to each individual. Like say, I want to see I am God burned in humongous letters, thousands of miles tall on the moon.
Yeah, but now you're talking about personal justification, and there are many cases of personal justification.
Sure.
I feel that there is a God, and that justifies a God for me. I don't think that that's what David is asking.
No, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm asking is, okay, so someone like Matt Dillahunty or some of the other more famous atheists on YouTube, what would convince them?
What would uniformly convince the humanity?
I don't know what would convince them.
Well, because
I'm willing to lower my bar personally to the same standard that theists claim to have.
Here's where
and I've never had a personal experience.
Here's what I keep trying to get at. See, they use the criteria that against theists and mainly fundamentalists is that your proof does not meet this standard of proof. What is
David, if I can real quick, I got to tell you, I don't agree with Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Raw and a lot of the atheist activists on that particular point, even though I respect them to no end. I am not a logical positivist. I don't think that you have to have empirical evidence for everything.
Okay, I'm getting
has to be scientifically proven, right? I hate that word epistemologist. I think it's ridiculous.
Right. Well,
okay,
I like the concept, but in real life, you have to take everything with a grain of salt because it's all personal experience.
But
your whole life is personal experience.
But they always say that. They always say that. Okay, your position does not meet this burden of proof. Well, what is the burden of proof?
Let me finish, Dave. Let me finish if I can. What they're asking for, I think, is unfair because the theist is not putting forth the proposition of God as a scientific claim. Okay, and I've always said this. Look, if you were saying God exists, I have scientific evidence for God exists, then yes, you know what? I am all for the way Matt Dillahunty is explaining it. You're right. You need to show scientific evidence. But I don't see theists presenting the proposition of theism as a scientific position. So I cannot approach it with a scientific methodological approach.
Okay, well, what about Nephilim 3 and G-Man? All the rest, they're trying to use science to say that they're right.
But here's the thing. I'm sorry, David. Here's the thing. I'm personally willing to accept personal experience, and I spent the good majority of my 20s and 30s searching for some sort of spiritual or religious truth because I was sort of an atheist agnostic from a young age, and just wanted to know the truth. That was my only desire, was to know what was really going on.
And I think that
and when I hear some YouTube, Christian saying, just pray to Jesus and he'll come into your heart. And I'm like, no, I tried that. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I don't think that flies very well, to be honest with you.
I tried that for 40 years. It didn't work.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm willing to lower the bar as far as a personal experience, and that still hasn't happened, despite what every Christian tells me should happen.
Yeah, for many people that are Christian, it is a personal experience. Whatever convinced them or made them feel that God was real, convinced them. And to them, it is true. He is real. But that doesn't mean
I've got 2 points on this. I got 2 points on this. One is the Matt Dillahunty point. And my view is that he comes from the other side of it because he always gets asked by theists, or it seems to be, he gets asked, prove that God does not exist.
Yeah,
and I think that's why he has come from and often appears to be offering the exact opposite argument.
You might be right. That might be why he's doing that. Sure, but it's still that's a ridiculous thing to ask somebody.
It may be, but I think that might be why he comes from that point of view. My other bit, what would be justification to me to turn me into a theist? The miracles that were done in the Bible themselves, if they were to happen again and were videoed, or there were plenty of people there that could attest to it, then yeah, I'd probly start believing that there was a God. For example,
like somebody's limb growing back.
Look at it. If the sky's inverted,
splitting the Red Sea,
or a demonstration of real magic or supernatural occurrences would at least chip the ice.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And let me explain this. Look, if I saw the heavens part and angels came out and trumpeted and the Red Sea parting and ocean split, I'm okay with believing at that point something supernatural and godlike is going on. Now, somebody could argue, well, it could be aliens. You're right, but who cares at that point? You're justified to believe that it is a supernatural being or God. I think that you're more than justified at that point. Could you be wrong? Yeah, but we're not talking about this epistemic certainty that we have to have a belief. If you saw these things and you saw all these miracles happening and you go, okay, well, I'm not going to believe, I think you're delusional at that point. You at least have to accept something is more than what you think is going on, right?
Yeah, until a better explanation comes along, yeah, you got to accept what's available.
Yeah, the reasons why I would accept that is because those are the things that are stated in the Bible as the things that God did, and they are the things, the Bible is the thing that makes people believe in the first place, along with total indoctrination. So if that's their basis for believing, just because they believe it, my basis for wanting evidence or proof or justification is that some of the types of things that are written in the Bible as having happened, apparently, I would like to see them happen.
Yeah.
Well, the things
I don't believe in eschatology to the degree that obviously the theist would. I don't think that any of that stuff was even written for the latter days. I just don't know Revelation. I think it had to do with Babylon and things long ago. But if all of a sudden those things started occurring, I would definitely take notice of it. When I hear an atheist say, look, God himself can come down and to say, look, I exist, I'm the great Jehovah, I'm the great I am, I'm still not going to believe that. I'm like, you got problems, man. You got problems, because I think that's how much more evidence do you need of something besides the physical evidence that is standing right in front of you? I don't get that.
Yeah, back in my 20s, for about 5 or 6 years, I was a member of a church. At that time, I did believe that God existed. I believed he was real. I accepted Christ as my Savior, the whole 9 yards. But no matter how much I believed and had faith in him and worshiped him, after about 3 or 4 years, I'm like, okay, here I'm doing all of this stuff, to show him how much I love him and care for him and want to have a relationship with him. But there's nothing coming back from the other side. No, I don't know what you would call it. Feelings? Who knows? I don't know. There was nothing coming back.
Dreams.
There's no response. There's no
response. And after a while, I finally said, okay, if he's there, he's not responding to me in any kind of way. And then I began to wonder, is what I'm believing, is it real? Is he really there? If he
seriously
loves you so much, he would answer or something somehow. It
Don't
never
you think God, well, hey, one second. Don't you think God, if you're reaching out to him, would want to have that relationship with you? I mean, obviously at this point you're a non-resistant non-believer. The whole thing from divine hiddenness is that God wants to have a relationship with you. And so if you're making the effort for that, or if just you're not resisting it, then where is it with some people?
Yeah,
I find that to be a very good argument.
Man, that would be so much harder to come to terms with if I had come at it from the point of view of a theist or a believer to begin with. Shit, it's easier for me to not believe because I've never fucking believed nothing, but to believe that this divine being actually exists and just won't talk to you, that's got to be fucking hard.
It's got to hurt.
Or he does have a universe.
Real quickly,
he does have an entire universe to run.
Yeah, he's too busy to talk to you. So, real quickly here, Shannon, you
Hi.
get to have a conversation with our buddy here coming up here. When I understand,
I do on Sunday. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Actually.
First of all, the question is why. We're talking about Max Colby, by the way, people. Why?
Well, I was just exposed to him, if you can believe it, for the very first time last week.
Okay, the phrasing of that was really bad. But
so
apologia.
I went in to watch one of his live streams just to see what it was all about because Godless Cranium was on about him. So I went in and looked, and I was hanging out there with Godless for a bit, and I was really taken aback by the vitriolic language that he used to describe anybody who identified themselves as an atheist. So my psychology background, because of that, things like that fascinate me. So I do want to have an honest dialogue with him. He's made it very, very clear that he's going to be hostile towards me. He's honest about that. He's very honest about the fact that the people that he sees me as affiliating with, he views them as bigoted, and he sees them as equally as vitriolic as him in a different way. He asked me if I had any affiliation with any atheist organizations. I don't, but I did tell him that I do contribute to Paul's channel, but that it's in sort of a tertiary level. I mostly do research. I'm actually appearing on the channel for the very first time this week.
You are actually Paulogia.
Yes, that's right.
I know.
It's all me.
Yeah, you guys
I just let him take credit.
This is Apologia right here. This is his alternate ego.
He's actually
I
messaging me right now.
I can hear the intellect behind the writing very clearly.
Exactly. This is what makes Apologia's channel great right here.
He's prettier than I am, so it makes more sense for him to be the face. He's very pretty.
He's a very pretty man. I'll give him that.
So this is my first time doing anything like this in the way of a live stream, but he fascinated me. I just really want to see if I can have an honest dialogue with him. I don't feel like I made it very clear when I was talking to him that I don't want to have a theological debate with him because I'm clearly outgunned. I mean, I've read through the Bible. I made it about 70% through the Old Testament before I just threw my hands up in the air and was kind of done with it. But that what I really wanted to discuss with him was what brought him to the mindset that all atheists as a homogenous group are, in his words, disgusting. And I wanted to kind of do self-exploration with him, I guess. So it's the first time doing something like this for me. I'm wondering if anybody's had any prior experience with him or with these types of things that might have some advice.
First. Did you watch the video that he had of me that he just released last week?
I did not know, but I actually engaged with him for the very first time on I believe it was your Twitter. It was a very long. It was. He tagged up just about every atheist YouTuber and your agnostic self as well on the string, and it continued to fascinate me because he was just so enraged and just immediately. I made a little joke, actually. It was how I started to engage with him. He said that I think he called you an armchair psychologist, or that you were diagnosing him with some sort of psychological disorder. And
no, seriously, I don't know what the hell. He's called me so many things, but you got to watch the video. Will you do me a favor before your interview with him?
I will. Yeah, no, I'm going to do a little bit of background research because I want to understand kind of a little bit more about his mindset, but I don't want to do too much. I don't want to be exposed too much. I'd like to have I'd like to be able to form an honest impression based on our discussion. So I don't want to go in with any bias. It's the psychologist in me. So the joke that I made was, well, I actually have a degree in psychology. Does that mean I get a hall pass? And he did not think I should, and was very vitriolic with me and condescending about, how I must not be good in my field. And I did my best to be patient and try to understand his perspective. And I think maybe that might be what opened him up to being willing to have a discussion with me. So I'm looking forward to it because I guess he's not willing. I beg your pardon?
What channel is this going to be on?
I believe his channel is called Red
it's going to be on his.
Something. Yeah. I don't have a channel. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm just a YouTuber by association.
Like I said, do me a favor. Watch the video. It's 16 minutes long. He gets everything about my positions right. Matter of fact, the comments are golden. Every comment is by a theist or atheist or whatever. All of them saying the exact same thing. Oh, I got to show some people here. That are like, that's not Steve's position. Steve's not an atheist. Steve doesn't think that. Where do you get that idea from? Every one of them is telling him how wrong he is. And I actually put on my Facebook and on G+ 20 points that I found in his 16-minute video that was completely and utterly wrong. And I was laughing hysterically about it. So by all means, when you go talk to him, watch that, bring up my name, and ask him how fundamentally wrong he could possibly get when he comes to me. I don't understand it.
See, I don't want to shut him down, though, is my only thing. I don't want to. Oh,
it's going to get shut down.
Yeah, no, I don't want him. I don't feel like I'll have a productive discussion with him in any way if I immediately put him on the defensive by trying to call him out on things. Yeah. So I don't really see the discussion that I'm having with him as a debate, more so as me trying to see if I can at least get him to admit by the end of it that perhaps not all atheists are horrible, horrifying, unworthy, morally substandard people. That's if I could even get that out of him, I would feel like that would be.
What day is this?
This is Sunday.
I can tell you right now, it's not going to end well. Who is it again?
It's going to be on his channel.
Who?
AKA Dean Esme, AKA Escaping Atheism.
Max Kobe?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so aside from, I don't want to bring up any past arguments that he's had and and put him on the defensive with me, or not that I don't agree that you're probably very right. I haven't watched it. However, I don't know how productive that would be in the course of the conversation. I don't feel like.
Oh no, that's fine.
If I put him on the defense, I hope you can understand that. Not that I wouldn't be willing to defend.
No, I totally get that. I still want you to watch his video about me.
I will.
I
will. Has anybody had any interactions with me that might with him? Sorry, that might have a little bit of advice of some of the tactics that perhaps he's going to use to try to deflect, or some of the attacks that I should probably expect, so that I can prepare myself mentally for the things I'm going to be. I'm sure called or accused of.
Well, just don't mention the Encyclopedia of American Loons, because he's like number 643 or something like that.
Oh gosh, okay.
No, it is. He actually is in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. I'm not even lying. Don't bring that up though. He'll go nuts.
Okay, I noted.
Yeah, but you want to do some research on it.
Do not approach list.
Go type in Dean Esme and American Loons, and he comes up. I think he's 600 and something. And it's awesome. It's just, he's so nuts.
Oh, gracious. Has anybody else had a live conversation with this individual that has ended in any way in a productive way?
No.
You don't know his background?
No. I found
MGTOW background, MRA.
Oh, okay.
So he was very much promoting MRA and MGTOW things, and he was just a piece of shit. I mean, he was he's one of the most misogynistic people around.
Oh, he's.
And for me to throw that word around is something, but yeah, he really is.
Okay. Well,
yeah, he was big in that movement. That's how he became known. And then he started getting into this anti-atheist stuff, and now he's just a very, very militant, bigoted, anti-atheist person. And yet he doesn't have any arguments why. He just doesn't. We've listened to his stuff. Logic did like 3 videos on him.
Interesting.
He's got nothing. It's just vitriolic, vile hate that he spews.
Oh, he's been in some of your hangouts, hasn't he, Steve?
He's been in hangouts I've been in. He hasn't been in this one, I don't think.
Oh well, I looked him up on American Loons, and the picture is like, he looks familiar.
Yeah. From
somewhere.
Yeah, he's just a very psychotic individual. I've had deflating atheism in here. His little brother, they're not related, but I mean, they're inseparable, it seems, because it's deflating atheism and escaping atheism now, and deflating atheism is just as bad in his arguments.
Well, that's one of the things that I found the most fascinating about him. His very first interaction with me, and I was very calm with him, and I said nothing poor in his direction or about Christianity in general, as I wouldn't, but he immediately called me a bigot and accused me of being a bigot. And when he asked me if I had any affiliations, I directed him to Paul's channel. And I said, I haven't actually been on it. If you wanted to watch the video that I'm on this week, please feel free to. However, I'm just a contributor. That's the closest thing to an affiliation I have. And he immediately called me a bigot. He actually said he didn't go to Paul's channel, but he could tell that it was one of the reading the Bible channels where everybody gets it wrong just by looking at the video. But he admitted that he didn't watch it. So I find him fascinating because he called me a bigot on multiple occasions based on just a really basic level interaction where I was quite kind and understanding to him, but he had called me a multitude of names based solely on the in-group that he identifies me with, and I'm almost certain that's the definition of bigotry.
That's what he does to me. He thinks I'm the worst atheist out there. People try to explain to him,
"You're not even an atheist."
I don't get that. How does that work? I don't know.
Oh gosh, well, he's gonna love me because I made it very clear that I self-identify as an atheist. So interesting. Okay, I'm looking forward to this even more now. I must be a weird person.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you, I'm straight up. I'm not going to bullshit with you. The greatest advice I can give you about this person, and I know you're not going to listen, but it's to stay the fuck away from him. And everybody will tell you the same thing. He's somebody you do not want to associate with. But I mean, I guess one of those things, get in, talk, get out kind of thing. That's kind of fine. Mm-hmm. But I do not really want any conversations with him. I don't want to be involved with him. I think he's a disgusting, vile human being. And certain people, I just don't really want to have a repertoire with of any kind. Him, Brett Keane, and a few other ones.
That's fair. I understand that. I have limited exposure to him, however. And I'm trying not to go in with any bias. Trying. but I have.
Oh, I'll give you bias. No, I'll give you bias. I have no problem with that bias.
That's silly enough bias. Yeah,
I'm not exceptionally neutral sometimes, as I probably should be.
I'm looking.
Well, once you watch this video, you'll see why I'm not.
Yeah, I find those people fascinating. So I'm actually looking forward to attempting to have a dialogue. I'm not sure how fruitful it will be, but I'm looking forward to at least attempting it.
Well, he's a straight up moron. He's so goddamn stupid. It's ridiculous.
I feel like if I remain calm and I don't allow him to provoke me, and then I'll be okay. It takes a great deal to affect me.
Don't get provoked, because he'll pull out shit like, oh well, atheists need to be eradicated and advocate genocide on a particular group.
Oh, that's strategy for provocation.
That was fun.
Yeah, atheists are all cockroaches that need to be stomped out. His word.
Oh, okay. Fair
Have
enough.
you a good joint before you go in.
I don't. I'm liable to fall asleep before I even have the opportunity. So perhaps I'll have a rum and coke instead. I'll do that.
Well, then I'll have to have a rum and coke night.
I'm drinking a rum and coke right now, to be fair.
Oh, you can't drink? Well, okay.
You can't tell. Don't tell me how to live my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not going to fly.
You better not say we're not allowed to drink on your channel.
Yeah, no.
That's not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an audience at that point. No, you're free to drink. Matter of fact, I actually promote it.
Knew I liked you, Steve.
Well, I'm good. I loved my rum and coke nights for flat earthers, but I've been saying that I've got to change my rum and coke nights to something else, because I can no longer, in good conscience, go over to these flat earthers and deal with them any longer. Because most of the time they just instantly block anybody, right? So they don't want to have a conversation, and I'd rather find something else of entertainment value to do with my rum and coke nights when I get drunk. So,
hey,
my God, we have people I don't recognize.
You got to say one thing that the church has done is that they have been very successful in their anti-atheist propaganda campaign or whatever. They've got everybody thinking that atheists are the scum of the fucking earth, and we're not.
We're not? Damn it! Why are you telling me this now?
I've been doing it wrong, I guess.
Yeah.
I got to get better at this atheism thing.
So Shannon, I was wondering, what is your Twitter? I've not even put it aside.
You gotta get better at atheism.
I know, I suck at it.
All you atheists suck at what you do. Seriously.
Oh, right.
Better.
Did somebody ask me a question? I'm sorry. I thought somebody said my name.
Midnight.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Midnight.
Yeah, I was just wondering what your Twitter. Hold on.
I love how people, like you said, the identity politics of something like, oh, well, you're an atheist, therefore you must have all these other conditions. You must have all these other beliefs. You must have all this prepackaged stuff that goes along with it.
Right,
and
exactly.
I know thousands. Well, okay, I'm a little hyperbolic, but I know hundreds of atheists. Let's say definitely hundreds. They're all different.
Right, absolutely. I think the only unique quality we have is atheism. Like the only thing that we have in common that isn't a unique quality, I should say, is atheism.
You don't worship Satan?
I'm so sorry. What was that?
I said, wait, you don't worship Satan?
I don't. No, oddly enough, no, I don't. I don't believe very highly in the book that he was created in. So
here's the thing:
it's not in my wheelhouse.
Most of the detractors of atheism, most of the people who are outspoken against atheism, are coming from a point of view where not only, as mentioned, is, as far as some people are concerned, atheism is the same as Satanism, which is, stupid, but literally there's not this area for open debate. So people don't even understand what atheism means, and that's why we have to have the discussion of, what is atheism? What is agnosticism? What is the difference between saying there is no God and I don't believe there is a God? And that's why this is literally the hot topic on YouTube right now.
We're not going to be doing that again anytime soon.
Yeah.
Also, I think that we all exist within this environment, like this YouTube environment, for example, where the people that you're encountering have very strongly held beliefs that they're willing to articulate, and some very vigorously. that isn't representative necessarily of what you are going to see out in the real world day to day. Most atheists that you talk to don't immediately introduce themselves with, "Hi, I'm Steve and I'm an atheist."
Right.
You interact with them based on
People are just
regular
themselves.
social convention. So
well, that's
when
why I
you're
want to do this man on the
you're
streets for that
introducing
very
yourself
reason.
to people here, it's a microcosm. So while you're interacting with them, you're interacting with them in a very specific type of environment. And if you're judging that entire in-group based on these types of interactions, that's a mistake, because it's a heightened environment.
Hugely, yes.
So
Yeah,
I feel like that's how he formed his points of view. Matt, sorry.
Steve, this on Facebook. Steve, you've seen how a lot of the people on Facebook, they attack atheists and they don't know what atheists are. Every day there's post after post after post calling atheists what they aren't, and spewing hatred.
Battle against ignorance.
I get that. I get that as well. Yeah.
There's a lot of that on Facebook.
Yeah, no, I see it all the time too, and that's why I kind of want to do this man on the street stuff. Where if somebody is a theist, I want to see what they think about certain things. If they're an atheist, I want to see what they think about certain things too. But I agree with you, Shannon, that the microcosm thing that we have, the microcosm we have here, is completely different than the real world. We are very opinionated people here. We express ourselves very forcefully sometimes. And I don't think that when I'm going to be doing these things out in the real world, I'm going to see very much of that. And obviously some theists will. I think theists will more than anything, because if somebody says, yeah, I believe in God and Jesus loves you, and they're just a Jesus freak, they are very opinionated. I get that. But I won't think that I'm going to be seeing too many people go, yeah, I'm an atheist, and I would like to tell you about the virtues of atheism, and if you're not an atheist, I don't think I'm going to be seeing much.
Here's my chick tract, or whatever the equivalent is. I'd like to tell you how to get away from your Lord and Savior.
The good news.
Would you like to
Have
grow
I told
up
you the bad
anytime
news?
soon and join the 21st century?
Well, I tell you, I should be an agnostic activist. That would make me popular. I wouldn't actually know what that would entail, but it would be really a kind of a niche, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We got cookies. Join agnosticism. We don't know shit. Join agnosticism. Confused? Great. Join agnosticism.
If there's cookies, I'll come.
If there's cookies, I'm down. That's how I got involved with agnosticism. Somebody said, "Hey, we got cookies." I said, "Shit, I'm down. Can't believe it."
Now,
don't know the hell it is anymore.
Be more skeptical. There's a follow-up question: is there cookies and milk?
Well, no.
Important.
Cookies.
Right. You see what I'm saying? There's a follow-up question. Be more skeptical.
I had actually a discussion the other day about why I don't accept the label of skeptic. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And it really kind of became something because of Max Colby, because he keeps labeling people what he wants to label them. And I'm like, I don't take the label of skeptic. And the reason being is because I think the word skeptic means skepticism, which is a philosophical position that knowledge isn't something we can know. There's no such thing as knowledge. I don't accept that, and I don't think most people do. Now, if you want to say, are you scientifically skeptic-minded? Yes, I believe in scientific skepticism. But that word skeptic has two different meanings, or actually multiple different meanings. And so I don't want to take a label when people, say, well, you're a skeptic, because I don't use the word that way. Right? I think we're all skeptical when it comes to scientific claims. I don't know who isn't in our community, unless you're one of the Clown Car Posse or woo-woo peddlers, right?
Are you a climate change skeptic?
They are especially skeptical about scientific claims.
Yeah, but they're skeptical too. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the word kind of loses its meaning at that point, right? I'm a skeptic. I'm going to be skeptical of Big Bang cosmology. I'm going to be skeptical of evolutionary biology.
What does it mean to be skeptical? Skeptical doesn't mean just to deny things. It means that you just need to do your homework. That literally, being a skeptic means you need to do homework.
I have a question. Okay, so the word skeptic, as it's defined in popular usage, and the word empiricist, what's the difference between those two?
An empiricist,
I don't think there's any.
Have things from an empirical evidence point of view. There's two major forms of how we acquire knowledge: is empiricism and rationalism, right?
Right.
And I think there's a mixture of both. I don't think everything has to be empirical. I don't think we have to be able to measure and quantify everything in order to have a knowledge. I think we can have knowledge from a rationalism point of view, rather than say, okay, we have to apply the scientific method to everything. I think there's a combination.
there are things that we need to accept provisionally, even though they're not knowledge.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't call them knowledge.
But but some people can't handle that. They have this weird.
What do you mean by that though?
Well, because there's certain things we have to take provisionally, and we can't actually claim as knowledge, like our properly basic beliefs. I can't say that I know the universe exists because I take that axiomatically.
My own existence, I have to take on faith because I have no.
It's not faith. I wouldn't use the word faith there.
Well, I mean, what would be the correct word for that? Because the only acknowledgement of existence I have is through my personal experience.
Confidence.
Yeah, I have a high threshold. I have a high confidence level. Sure.
Okay.
I'm confident the universe exists. But since that's because of my personal framework, I have to start with certain assumptions. So I can't say that I know an axiom is true because it's axiomatic. It's an assumption.
But we're dealing with what we believe to be the truth based on our personal experiences in every case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your belief in the universe is grounded on experience, isn't it, Steve?
But that's a belief. I mean, again, that's not knowledge. I can't. It'd be circular for me to say that I know the universe.
Here's the thing, though. At that point, where do you draw the line, though? Where is the line between belief and knowledge?
Foundational. I have foundationalism for that. I build a framework, and then I can build knowledge from that. That's what foundationalism is. Like, for example, I can't prove. I don't know other minds exist. I believe it very strongly. Well, you know, I could actually, maybe with my framework, I can actually say I know other minds exist, but I really hesitate on that because you're saying you're solving hard solipsism, right?
No, shit, I'm not claiming shit like that. I don't give a shit. I don't know.
I know that my mind exists.
Well, yeah, that's the only thing.
I hope
I would go that far.
My mind exists.
That's soft solipsism, though, that you know your mind exists. I think most people are.
I didn't say mine's the only one though, but. Yeah, I do accept my mind.
So actually, knowledge is pretty much someone's level of confidence in being correct based upon their how they interpret their environment and the logical assumptions they can make from that environment and past repeated events.
And what they consider to be knowledge. I mean, are you following justified true belief? Are you following the theory of knowledge that are out there? I mean, we have to first. You have to find out what's true, right? You need theories of truth out there in order to have knowledge.
That's what I
belief
meant.
Has to be true to have knowledge.
That's what I meant. It's like it's as you described. There's no such thing as absolute knowledge. You'd have to know
I don't
everything.
think anybody really talks about absolute.
But
that's
what
kind
we
of
call knowledge
is like unsolvable, though, right?
But what we call knowledge is actually our own assumptions based upon high probability of our confidence in things that are probable. And
within our framework, yeah. Because I don't think anybody can say for sure they have 100% knowledge of things outside of that framework, except maybe you make the argument for analytical propositions. Like, you know all unmarried men are bachelors because it's definitive. Yeah, it should be definitionally true.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's a different subject, though.
Such are by definition such.
Right. So analytical propositions like that are by definition something you can know, and it doesn't really matter what your framework is.
Like I don't know that the land, the area of Mars that they've sent these probes to is like a desert, but I have a high confidence that it is. Simply based on what I've observed, which I would consider to be logical based on what's logical to me from the photos and the professionals that tell me it's so.
But see, these are the subjects that most of us have looked into. We like talking about. You're never going to see, until you kind of get back to the hangout here. You're never going to see the Clown Car Posse talking about these subjects.
Well, that's the thing. Why can't we have these kind of discussions equally across the board with
because
people
they don't
like that who are theists? Because I feel like we're either dealing with either ignorance or dishonesty, one or the other. I can't see
it goes outside the Bible, and if it doesn't fit into the narrative if it doesn't fit into the biblical narrative, then as far as they're concerned, it's poppycock.
But they've isolated themselves to a degree where they've just cannot learn anything any longer. If that's your entire worldview and nothing else, then you've just relegated yourself to a place
just touched upon
permanent
something that
ignorance.
Okay,
And you have just defined the difference between faith and sufficient confidence.
You've just touched upon something where I had an issue with them. I'm talking to Rand Campbell and G-Man and Fix Hayes and all of them. When I tell them, when they use the term Word of God for the Bible, and I say, well, what if God's still speaking? Isn't that the Word of God? If he said something, say, in the last week, it's not in the Bible, that would be the Word of God, right? But how can you know it if it ain't in the Bible? So obviously you've got a bad way to describe this book as the Word of God, because that can't possibly be the Word of God in a nutshell.
Well, I think that the way they build their knowledge base is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, if God were dead, it didn't exist anymore, yeah, then you could definitively say that is the Word of God, because God's not saying anything anymore because he's dead.
One of the things about God is that if he exists and is perfect omni, then he must be unchanging. Therefore, any word that he had is the word that he has and is the word that he will always have.
That's pretty darn boring, isn't it? I mean, if all you're allowed to say is what's already
How do you tell the difference between revelation and just plain dishonesty at that point?
Yeah, I don't think you can.
You can't.
Okay, like one of my frustrations I have is like I've said before, I do believe in God based upon my personal experiences, and my personal experiences also include visions, voices, dreams, and a few things that have at least appeared to me to have come to pass based on those things. But another person cannot distinguish that between what would be defined as some sort of mental problem, and that's where I'm frustrated with, because I can't honestly say I'm not crazy. I mean, if I have these things,
David, I've had auditory and visual hypnagogic hallucinations before, many times. I mean, lots of them. I'm not crazy. These are normal things that normal people have. I mean, my dad's had it, my daughter has them, but the sane person recognizes that it's just a brain state, right? I don't take it to be any other. I don't think like I'm hearing voices. No, but I mean, you're in a state of REM sleep, and something wakes you and then you start going back into it. Your brain needs some kind of thing to focus on. I mean, Sean probably could tell you a lot more about this than I can, but this
I wish I could associate with you guys. I've had lots of interesting brain states, and I've actually done a lot of drugs in my life, but I can't actually empathize, because at no point can I say I've heard voices from outside of me, or that I was in a brain state that I couldn't understand.
Yeah,
I've had very clear voices.
Never experienced any of that stuff.
I remember the timbre of the speech that I've heard voices of.
I wish I could become that from that point of view, but I don't understand that, and I'll admit to that being completely ignorant. I don't understand where many theists and other people are coming from with that point of view, because I don't hear voices. I never have. No matter how much I've tried.
Well, hang on. Let me run this by you. Look, since I know these things do occur, I have obviously personal evidence that these things do occur. Now, I take them to be just normal things. I take them naturalistically. I do. But 2,000 years ago, if it happens now, if it happens to me, then I would have to make the assumption it probably happens to other people, or has happened, right? I can't be the only person that have had these things happen, and I know they're not. I know a lot of them.
Now, I have had experiences like seeing UFOs and sleep paralysis and other such things that are quite easily explainable.
So when you have these sensory perceptions, especially auditory or visual hallucinations, back 2,000 years ago, when they didn't understand science as well as we do now, or the brain, they're going to probably attribute to that something a lot more supernatural. I mean, look at Nephilim Free. Nephilim Free, when back earlier on, he has had sleep paralysis, he's had lucid dreaming, and he actually attributes that to aliens at one time.
Oh my gosh.
I completely empathize and I completely understand, but I don't understand the final conclusion, because I've had the same experiences.
Because you
actually believed he was
visited by aliens. The final conclusion when we understand what's causing it.
Yeah,
you people are crazy.
And other things, but see, we'll look into it, right? I've done at least some reading on these things. Nephilim Free and those guys, look how much fundamental issues they have to begin with. You think they're going to be able to research stuff and go, oh yeah, these are brain states? No, they're gonna take the easy way out and go, yes, it's God. or an angel or an alien, whatever the hell they want to have an explanation of, because they don't have a rational thought process to come to a conclusion that I think makes more sense.
Or it's just based on the infrastructure that they already have. So that's them interpreting something that's happened to them that doesn't make any sense based on their general sensory perception, incorporating the, I hate using this word, but worldview into them figuring out for themselves what has just happened to them. So if you have a base understanding of neurological phenomenon, then you'll know that, you know, I might be going too much. I'm a brain nerd, so
I'm right with you, and I want you to finish your thought.
I'm a brain nerd.
Go ahead, because
if you have a base understanding of neurological phenomena, you'll know that when you're in a REM state, your occipital lobe, which is essentially it's the primary part of your brain that's going to be processing any sort of visual perception. That's where your optic nerves end. So that's very, very active. Also, your temporal lobes, which have your Wernicke's and Broca's area, have to do with speech and auditory responses and auditory processing. Those are really, really active, along with your hippocampus, which is where you're holding all of your memories. So if you're in a REM state, the rest of your body, like your frontal cortex and your prefrontal cortex, not your full frontal cortex, but your prefrontal cortex is kind of disengaged, the part where you have your motor sensors. So if you come out, that's, all of us have had that sensation where we're not quite aware of where we are, we can't quite move our bodies, but we're still in sort of a lucid state. So if you have a general understanding of neural anatomy and neurology and visual and auditory processing, you might be able to kind of talk yourself down from it. If you don't, there's a chance that you might panic, and that can heighten the state even more. So if you panic and that heightens your state even more, and then you're not able to look at the real world scientific, biological, neurological reason for that state existing, then you're going to try to find an explanation. That's what we do as people. We're pattern seekers, and we are attempting to understand things. So what you would do is you would fit it into a framework that makes sense to you. So if the framework that makes sense to you is a theological or a paranoid framework, that's what you're going to go with. So it's not necessarily a lack of ability or understanding. It's just you haven't been guided in the right direction. You can be taught out of that, as long as you don't have some form of psychoses. You can be taught out of that. The only thing that's stopping people is their stubbornness and unwillingness to be able to be educated out of that state, because it's a scary thing to change your world perception.
How realistic can these things be?
They can be very realistic. Your brain is what makes you see reality.
What it comes down to is your prior education and your ability to understand what is happening at the time.
100%.
There's two things. One, obviously, I agree with you 1,000%, and I think that the position of coherentism, where
she nailed it right there.
Yeah, she did. But the coherentism approach was like, you have a framework of beliefs, and if your beliefs correspond with other beliefs, that's how you build your epistemic framework. And I think that some of these people, like Nothing Free, like exactly like you had said, if you have a conspiratorial, you have a theistic type or supernatural belief structure, then you are going to build upon beliefs that
an experience that you couldn't explain,
or a low IQ,
100% confirm what you already believed.
Right, and the other thing I was going to say was that when you're in that brain state, I've always kind of likened it to being in a automatic car with the clutch disengaged. That's the way I like to look at it when I'm in sleep paralysis stage. My brain is running.
You're gonna go one way or the other,
but you're not. You're not. Your body doesn't respond. You're in a sleep paralysis. Your mind wants to do something. It has to formulate some kind of thing to keep going, and that's when you get into these hypnagogic hallucinations and things like that.
Having experienced it myself, sleep paralysis is terrifying. Even knowing what is happening and understanding it, having known about the phenomenon ahead of time and realizing what's happening, it is terrifying.
Yeah,
I got a question for Shannon, because you seem to know a lot about the neurological side of this.
She just makes this shit up as she goes along. You know that, right?
I do. Actually, I've been Googling.
Google was strong with this one.
I was in a chat or a hangout with Eseth yesterday, and we were talking to this guy who claims to see UFOs, and he talked about sleep paralysis. Is it possible for two siblings, even though one of them is adopted, or they're both adopted from different families, but they're not biologically related. Is the point?
Okay, good.
Siki.
For them, yes, Siki.
Yeah, I started watching that, but I didn't get into it. By the way,
for them to influence each other, even subconsciously, to see these things, even though kind of like an induced hysteria.
Okay, so can I understand the context a little better? So they both claim separately to have seen the same phenomena independently of one another without having the ability to see each other in between conveying their experience.
Having listened to his same story, it did not sound like that. It sounded more like several people playing off of each other's information.
Okay,
right.
So it's groupthink then. It's groupthink.
It's a groupthink. It's definitely a groupthink thing, and
of course that's possible. Have you ever heard of gossip? Do you know what gossip is? And people believe it.
His example was basically a loud sound and unexplained light in the sky.
Right.
That him and a couple other people heard, even though I don't want to go into detail, but
he claimed to be able to summon these things with a flashlight, and I was like
with a
flashlight, and I was thinking it was neurological because I'm epileptic and I know about,
Okay.
There's
if you listen to the whole story from start to finish, it sounds like people playing off of each other around the time of the 4th of July, where it is explainable that people might be making loud noises or making fireworks in the sky, including the fact that he described living in a valley, and the bangs he described could easily be attributed to echoes. And he said all of this happened within 2 weeks of the 4th of July, so it doesn't have to be the 4th of July for anyone to randomly throw off a firework.
Right.
Even negating all of those things,
it was all very, very. I don't know. I wasn't involved in the actual debate, but I was not impressed at all.
Even if you believe in all of those facts that were presented, your memory, like even if you grant them the bright light in the sky,
right? Even if I granted him that every single thing he experienced was true to his experience, it was still very explainable.
Guys, if you guys talk over each other, nobody can hear you. Let somebody finish their entire train of thought before you.
No. My apologies. I'm new to this.
It's hard to follow, trust me. And then people bitch at me in the live feed, and then they hate me and want me to burn in hell forever. So.
Okay, I'll wait. Let me know when you're ready for me to answer the question that was posed to me.
You got the floor. Go ahead.
So the answer is it's absolutely possible. It's 100% possible. Even if you grant him all of the premises as being valid, even if you say he saw a bright light in the sky and they saw it independently, your memory is one of the most fallible pieces of you. Like if you ever do if you're interested in any sort of reading on memory, all you have to do is look at any sort of psychology and law research that has to do with eyewitness testimony. It's your memory, especially your memory of events, is not so much formed necessarily by your soul sensory experience, as though you're taking, a photograph or a video of the experience that you're having. It's very much determined by conversations that you've had afterwards, because you have short-term and long-term memory, right? Things aren't committed to long-term memory until you've had some sort of repetition, until you've processed it cognitively, and you're kind of incorporating it into the way you think about things and into your self-narrative of historicity. So if your self-narrative and the historicity that you're affiliating with it has to do with a conversation that you then had with somebody else, and they are saying, oh, I had that experience too, I also saw that light, and then you convey experiences back and forth to each other, those become part of your memory. And then if you interview people separately, they'll convey that they had the same memory, even though if you look back at, let's say, a video of the experience, the video that you're looking at clearly shows that that's not what happened, but they will be absolutely convinced, and they're not lying. They are certain. They're certain because that is their real memory. That's their real memory, but that's not really what happened. So it's absolutely possible. 100% would be my answer.
Well, and I was thinking too, it was like my original purpose in going there was because I'm epileptic, and I was thinking, well, this could be epilepsy induced by strobe effect or something like that.
Absolutely.
So I was thinking it was some kind of neurological effect.
What it's called petit mal.
Or petit mal, or there's all kinds of seizures that can be induced that have all kinds of effects. There's people that get sexually aroused by epilepsy. There's all kinds of it. So,
oh, that goes back to my earlier question before this young woman entered the hangout.
Oh, you said I was young. Oh, sorry. I'm
judging by your photo.
You.
I'm judging by your photo. Well, you're considerably younger than me. Anyway, is that what would constitute as proof? Because I tell you, I had an experience that notwithstanding all this neurological talk, that nobody convinced me didn't happen. I mean, right. I saw and spoke to and interacted with an angel, just like if it was any person I've ever encountered in person. This, right. I mean, I remember the details. I remember the details of the face, the clothing, the power that was emanating off of this being, and it literally dang near sent me into shock. So I was wondering, I wasn't doing any drugs or anything like that. The only thing that could explain it as a neurological thing would be that I did partially fast and pray for a week.
What was his eye color?
Huh?
What were the color of it?
Can you help me have a similar experience?
The only thing I did was I fasted and prayed for a week. The only thing I ate is I ate just a tiny bit amount of food, and I had
May I contribute something when you're done?
I had one Dr. Pepper each day for roughly a week.
No,
and then I had
that's a lot of sugar
before me. Then this being appeared. Well, I said that was just for the day. I didn't have anything else.
Okay. No, I as an atheist, as an agnostic atheist, I'm one of the few people willing to lower the bar that far, because I'm the crazy guy who has done a lot of acid and a lot of shrooms and everything in search of anything ever possibly supernatural, and have never found anything.
I wish somebody else had witnessed it.
So, I mean, I mean, obviously drugs aren't the way to do it, but if you could help me find the way to do it, I would be right there behind you. I would be on your side of the fence if you could give me the same experience.
Other than have a belief in God and a belief that it was true, that the things I
can't believe God were true without seeing it first.
May I contribute something when you have a moment?
Wait, hang on. How long did it last?
Roughly 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds. Okay.
30 seconds to a minute. It was just because it scared me so bad. I shut my eyes closed and threw my head away and yelled out.
I don't know, man.
It's so shocking.
I've had a flying demon appear above my head.
When I've seen things.
How'd you do that?
Too.
No, I don't think it was actually there, but
I've seen dark things too.
It had wings. It had these beady little eyes.
Okay, you want me to describe this being to you?
But I don't think it was actually there.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a noise.
I remember.
I want to see my own. Honestly, what everyone else describes doesn't really matter, because I have never seen anything like that myself, and I just don't understand when people say they do. And it's like, even the most hardcore addict who's like, "Oh man, I did a whole bunch of acid and saw demons." I'm like, I did a whole bunch of acid too, and I
just think it's an hallucination. So
yeah, of course it was a hallucination. I recognize it, but I'm saying
I've done hallucinations,
I know it's hallucination.
and I don't see demons. I don't know what these people are talking about.
Are you autistic?
So that goes back to my earlier question: is what would constitute proof? If a being appeared before you claiming to be from heaven or God or Jesus himself, and all the visual,
I would be right there with you. I'd be right there with you, because that would be the first time I'd ever seen such a thing.
Let me answer that question, Dave. Then Shannon, please chime in here. The answer to that question is very simple. Every time I've had a hypnagogic or hallucination of some kind, I can recognize it for what it is. I've never had something where I'm knowing in the moment that there's a real entity that I'm having a real conversation with, like this, like with you people. I've never had that. I can see there's a distinct difference between having a conversation with you than these hallucinations that I've had going back and looking at them, in retrospect.
But it interacted with me, and I interacted with it.
I haven't had that. I mean, I've had interactions like you have, these hallucinations where you're talking to somebody, but after it's like a dream state, right? And it doesn't really feel real at all to me.
Steve, have you really had these interactions, or are you saying this to make this guy feel better about
not talk
himself?
over each other. You guys, it's not going to work. Go ahead.
Have you really had these experiences, or are you saying this stuff to make this guy over here feel better about himself?
No. I've talked about things before. Yeah, I've had these experiences many times.
It was your
man. You people sound crazy as hell, though.
But actually, no, because these are 6% of the population, if not more, have sleep paralysis. My dad suffered from this. My daughter suffers from this.
I'll agree. You guys sound crazy as hell.
But go ahead,
I've had
Shannon.
sleep paralysis, but hallucinations are crazy. I've never actually had them.
It's crazy for people to have hallucinations and but be able to recognize that they are sleep deprivation or stress.
But this wasn't an hallucination.
Hang on, David.
Not as far as I know about it.
I'm being so patient. I love
no,
talking.
I'm trying to get
you know, when you ask Paul how patient I'm being, I never shut up. So, is this Dave that said that he had seen the angel? Is it Dave that I'm addressing? Okay, Dave. I just have kind of a question, I guess, wrapped in a statement for you. So you had mentioned, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. So first, I just want to let you know that I respect the reality of that experience for you. But you had mentioned that leading up to the experience, which lasted about 30 seconds or so, you had been fasting and not eating very much and praying, and that you had also been only imbibing perhaps a Dr. Pepper every so often, which is high in caffeine and also high in sugar content, unless it's diet, I guess, but still high in caffeine. So you had deprived your body of nutrients while you were priming yourself for a religious experience by praying. So you were engaging in a religious activity in your mind and a repetitive one, because praying is a repetitive activity. So you deprived yourself of nutrients. You would put yourself in a pseudo-hypnotic state potentially by continuously praying. And you had also spiked levels of caffeine, which can increase neural receptors that are involved in hallucinatory experiences. And this lasted for about 30 seconds, and an interaction isn't uncommon if you're in a state of hallucination. Is it possible that this could be a hallucinatory experience for you based on the understanding of what I just mentioned, or do you see it as still being a whole reality for yourself? I respect whatever you say.
It is possible that it could have been an hallucination, but I can't accept it as an hallucination simply because of the detail and
you understand, however,
how realistic it was.
I've had some detail.
But details are all created in your mind, though. Your brain is what creates detail and reality for you. So if it happened in your brain, that it could be very, very detailed.
Right.
It wasn't a detailed like you would see a regular person. This being was supernatural. It had power coming off of it.
But if it was a hallucination, it could be very, very, very vivid. And it could also be, if you had been priming yourself and you have an idea in your mind of what this being would look like should you see one, hypothetically, and had created it, it could very well be. I'm not saying that you did. I'm just saying that I based on what I've heard and a base understanding of neurology, it is a possibility that I'd like you to potentially be open to, so that you can maybe understand it a little bit better where it hasn't been repeated. And I don't suggest that you do fasting, praying again, or fasting at all. Please do not go out and try.
My heart is actually skipping beats. My heart actually.
I just want you to be open to the possibility that perhaps it could have been.
Here's the thing. I did all the experiments. You guys don't need to worry about it. I have experimented with, like, I don't know, 80-90% of all drugs under the sun, and no God is to be found there. So don't waste your time on that.
Shannon, here's the point I was trying to make. I'm sorry, Steve.
One time in prototype, because of sleep deprivation and caffeine, because one of the things you drink a lot of when you're going through school is coffee, and you're having 12-hour days, literally 8 hours in the classroom, then 4 hours of a prototype on hands. And you're studying, and toward the end of the day, you're fading. Well, one day I was looking at this tech manual, and this very brilliant fireball came right out of the page, and it came right up into my face.
Yeah,
and
that's,
of course, I jerked out of it. I'm like, okay, what?
That's just dream states, bro. Yeah, I mean, no, seriously. Unless you've been up on like methamphetamines for 2
all right,
weeks,
I'll just let you guys
going
talk.
to school full time. No, methamphetamines, going to school full time, and holding down a full time job. You learn to deal with shadow monsters, and at that point, you really start dealing with what's real and what's not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I'm talking about life experiences because this is what theists want to hear more than anything else. But life experiences. Go deal with this.
Stuffy, you gotta wait till somebody's done talking, my friend.
No shit. I'm sorry.
You really gotta learn that. I'm telling you right. Because I'm really getting tired of having saying something, and all of a sudden I have to stop what the fuck I'm saying because people are interjecting.
My turn.
Wait, Barney, you've had experiences too?
But I didn't get to finish.
Are you an experiencer?
What?
Are you an experiencer?
Experienced? I am very experienced.
No, experiencer.
Yeah, I am, and that's one of the things which drove me to atheism. When I've had experiences of God, and when I lost certainty in the existence of God, I went looking for him, and I went looking for him in meditation and in yoga and in whatever you can think of that kind. And I found that you can, through self-suggestion, convince yourself of a lot of shit, and that they can all feel quite real to you. And that if you get into the New Age stuff and you meditate and make yourself feel something and make yourself think that it's real, and then remember it and retell it and reaffirm it and reconfirm it, with each telling it becomes realer and realer. And after a while, you either realize or you don't realize that, hey, I've been doing all of these things. I've been creating them. I know where they come from. I know how to cause them, how to control them. And yes, you can sit down and meditate and cause yourself to see or feel whatever you want.
I've done it. I've literally, what's great is if you do it enough, you actually can feel yourself slipping into a different brain state. You feel yourself sliding into it. And if you're awake enough, you can create your own reality at the time.
But how can you hallucinate something based on your own perceptions of things that you've never perceived before?
The demon that I saw, I've never seen anything like that before. The brain's creative.
Did it look like an orc from LTR?
No, it looked like a crypt demon from the game Magic the Gathering.
Oh, okay.
But you said you never seen it before.
Well, I didn't see it before. Afterwards, I was like, what the hell is this thing? And I was actually going through images, and I saw an image that looked just like it, but I don't remember ever seeing that image prior. Could have been.
Your subconscious mind produces lots of strange things. And Steve, I think this would be a really interesting topic if you had or were able to get some high-class, knowledgeable neurologists and mental health people on
to
actually discuss. I didn't scare her off.
I never pictured an angel to look like this before. Before I had that experience, I thought an angel wore a white gown and had wings, maybe a halo. It looked like a person.
What did it look like? You said you wanted to describe it, right?
It looked like had a face like a person. I mean, his face was literally just 6 inches away from me. It was leaned down into me, and when I opened my eyes, I saw him, and he had hair like a person, but around him, it was like the substance, this like, I guess like cotton, it was just floating, like pieces of it would be drifting in the air, and it'd be shiny and pulsating with flowing power. It was just like how how like snow, if it's all clumped together and it get caught in the wind, it'd be kind of like drifting about. It was kind of like that. There was this power coming off of it. It was I just had this feeling of extreme euphoria. They call that angel hair. Like nothing I ever felt before. And I never imagined an angel looked like that. He didn't have wings. He had this white gown kind of on, and it was a material I never had ever seen before. It was sort of shiny but soft, had light coming off of it, but it wasn't a harsh light. It was a soft light. I never knew what soft light was before. You know,
yeah, but
I've
David,
never seen these things before, man. I never imagined these things before, seen these things before.
What was like a skin tone, eye color, and hair color?
His hair was dark brown like mine was at the time. He had a Caucasian face, and he had brown eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of looked like me, only a lot more handsome.
By the way, Shannon had to go pick up her son, so that's why she had a jet.
So I always assumed it was a guardian angel, because years later I read a part in the Bible where it said that someone thought that Peter was actually Peter's angel, because I guess people believe that your guardian angel looks like you.
Yeah. So the thing is, Shannon was in here a little while ago, and you saw her avatar and have been watching at it for about half an hour. What did it look like? Can you describe it?
Shannon's avatar?
Yeah.
Let's see, what I had: blondish looking hair, Caucasian, a thin face, pretty, tight lips, a serious or stern look on her face. Looked kind of sexy.
Wow, you were really paying attention.
I noticed things like
that. She had a beanie on her head. That's all I remember.
That was a fedora.
Yeah, I don't. The whole thing. When you mentioned something about when you haven't seen anything like that before, I thought of something. The word I used to use the word ganked all the time when I was younger, right? And I'm like, word. And then like probably 5 years ago, I was listening to some old NWA, and I heard Ice Cube use that word, and I'm like, oh, that's where I got the word from. It was from Ice Cube, from an NWA CD when I used to listen to him when I was 20 years old, right? But I don't remember ever hearing it from that song, but my subconscious picked it up, and I just started using it. So you seeing this thing, you know, your mind will pick things up and you just cast it away. You could have seen the picture somewhere on a billboard or anywhere in a movie, and it just flashed for a minute and went on, you know.
So one thing
I don't remember ever seeing anything like that. When I thought of an angel back then, I can remember the things I thought back then. I never thought of an angel like that.
But David, you told me that this guy. Hang on. You told me that this guy looked like you, though.
Hang on.
But more handsome.
Yeah, a lot more handsome. Yeah,
a lot more handsome. That's what you told me.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, you don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember. Like I said, the word ganked, I don't remember ever hearing that in the NWA. I thought I invented the word.
But if you look
like where did I ever see this soft light, this wafting, billowing flotsam that was drifting all about him?
You could have seen it when you were a kid in some sci-fi movie on TV, and then you could have seen it somebody else had a picture that you know as you were driving by, you glanced down.
When I was a kid, everything was in black and white.
Dave, how long ago was this, by the way? How many years ago?
This is in 1982.
When you were a teenager, you could have been walking by and glanced down at somebody who had a book open on a table and had that picture in it. And you just glanced at it, walked on, right? I mean, your mind picks these things up anywhere.
I was always thinking about God and angels. At that time, I was really into it. I was always thinking about God and angels in heaven, and I never imagined an angel to be like that.
Man, I can't believe that the point I made flew over all your guys' heads. Because, I mean, he said that the thing looked like himself, man.
So what does that mean?
You had never seen yourself prior to then?
Yeah, like in the mirror. Yeah.
No, I think he's never seen the attributes. I think he was talking about as the angel, not like the facial features.
Yeah, when you just narrow in on the facial features, he looked like me in the face, only much more glorious, much more handsome.
Tell me, how many times had you done LSD in your life before this?
Never.
No. All right.
No, I mean, I've never been on drugs. I never took hallucinogenics, and I've had similar experiences of some sorts. I think people do have these experiences, and I don't discount any of them. I just think at this point, I've come to the belief that they are naturalistic in origin.
No, drugs aren't.
I would find it very disappointing if it had turned out to be just an hallucination. It'd be very, very depressing and discouraging. But I'm not entirely closed to the possibility. I would
Why
just,
would it be discouraging?
Because it means that it wasn't real.
Oh
no! I mean, it's the power of the mind. The mind is an unbelievable thing.
One of
the
the
brain
most
is
depressing
amazing.
things for me, as a believer in God, one of the most depressing things for me is the studies they've done on the human brain. Well, not human brain, but on the brains of other animals, like mice and a few other animals. When they die, they discovered that the brain releases a very, very powerful chemical which creates hallucinogenic states, which is what explains near-death experiences.
DMT.
And the thing is, if it turns out that let's say I die, let's say 20 years later, if I'm lucky, I lived another 20 years, and I die, and then I see myself going to heaven and meeting Jesus and all this stuff, and then it turns out that it's just my brain going through this chemical reaction while I'm dying, and then all of a sudden everything just fades to black because I'm dead. That would be really horrifying.
But
Actually,
you wouldn't be
why
allowed
is it
to really care.
horrifying? How could it be horrifying?
What's wrong with getting a little bit of last minute pleasantry?
Because I don't want it to
as
end.
your life is
If I go to heaven, and I go be with Jesus, and I see all the stuff that I get to enjoy and things like that, and then it just fades away because my brain is now dying, so everything just sort of just like fades to black and then nothing.
Well, David,
I don't want that.
You wouldn't notice. You wouldn't care.
Hang on, David.
No, it's not possible.
David, you believe your soul lives on forever. Your soul wasn't created when you were born, right? Because in the Bible it says that God knew you before you were born, so your soul had to be around before you were born, right?
If you accept the Bible narrative as literally
well,
true.
do you accept that? Do you think that's possible that your soul was around before you were actually born?
I believe it's possible. It's possible.
Do you remember anything before you were born?
Nope.
Do you worry about it?
Nope.
Do you think it's a terrible thing? That's
Nope.
the same thing it's going to be like after you die. You're going to be dead. You're not going to be worried
That's
about
why I
it.
look
You're
at
not thinking about it. So you're not going to feel terrible about it.
That's the way I look at it too. I'm not that concerned about it. I mean, at that point, you're not going to notice the difference. But let me ask you this, Dave. I look at what benefit did God have to give people these types of lucid dreaming things? That's the kind of question I ask myself. I can go into a lucid state. I can have a lucid dream. I can create a whole different reality. What purpose does that have, like for God to make that happen?
To encourage you, to keep you strong in your belief.
It doesn't help my belief. Actually, it would actually go against his. You would actually then you're actually saying, look, I have an explanation for this stuff from more of a naturalistic cause, because my lucid dreams don't. Hang on, my lucid dreams don't give me a conclusion of God. Just the opposite, probably.
If a person has the Holy Spirit, and then the person with the Holy Spirit experiences these things, it not only gives you pleasure, it gives God pleasure, because God's experiencing it along with you.
But that's not what I'm asking you.
You said, what pleasure does God get out of it? That would be
to have you confused, to give you lucid dreams.
No, I'm not talking about being confused about it. I'm talking about if you have a vision from God or see an angel or something like that. Then you are a believer and you have the Holy Spirit, that God is also experiencing it right along with you.
I don't, but I've never had a vision of God.
You're talking
had a
vision about the true experience of
Well,
God.
you asked, you put it in my experience.
What I'm asking is, David, what's the benefit? Okay, people do have hallucinations. People do have sleep paralysis. People do have lucid dreams.
Mm-hmm.
If that's part of God's plan, what is he using them for?
I don't know if that is or isn't.
You don't know if people have lucid dreams?
I don't know if that person, whoever it is you're describing, is actually part of whatever you mean by God's plan. I don't know. I don't know.
God
what
has
that
to have,
is.
God has a plan for everybody, and if he's involved in your life and you're having lucid dreams, or he's aware of this, is he not?
Well, he might not be involved in someone's life.
But then why give the ability to have lucid
How
dreams?
sad would that be?
It could be just some leftover thing from when
Even he designed human beings, supposedly. One of the things he built in would have been lucid dreaming for some reason.
Well, not everybody's going to believe at the same time as everybody else. So
I don't think you're understanding what I'm asking.
It seems like if that was the case, where he was putting lucid dreams and visions in us while we were sleeping, it would be more like an infomercial, and you'd see him actually doing stuff and trying to.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah, like come on, look what's going to happen up here. But
Tony, you think it's more likely though? And again, I'm not advocating this position per se. I'm just throwing it out there. But don't you think that 2,000 years ago, when people didn't have any idea how to interpret anything, that when they have a lucid dream, they're going to attribute it?
People were getting
some kind
killed
of thing,
for it,
like a god.
Yeah, you definitely couldn't say it. Like, wow, hey, Mordecai, I just had this crazy dream that I was flying. He'd probably be hanging the next day.
Anyways, I gotta call this to a close because I'm heading to the store here. So we're wrapping this up. Unless it's getting dark. Wow, everybody just I said I'm wrapping it up, but everybody left. Wow, do you see that? See, they just
phone quake.
I don't know what to say to you, Steve. It's just that if I take it to that level, it just depresses me.
It shouldn't though. I mean, don't be depressed by anything. I want to know what's true. I like to have well-formulated beliefs and knowledge, and I don't care so much what is good or bad as far as what actually does comport with reality. And if it is reality, I have to accept that. I don't want my worldview to be such that I want to believe something only because it's beneficial to be happy to believe it. I find that people do want that. That's a pragmatic or prudential approach. But I would rather know the truth and know the ramifications of it rather than have this blissful thing that it's not true, right?
Well, yeah, I can see your point. I don't entirely share it though, but
no, I wouldn't think that you would.
I will honestly admit something to you. I find a lot of the stuff you say and the people that agree with you say very, very compelling and even convincing. So I can't convince anybody otherwise. And I wish, if I could have a wish come true, I wish that God would just show up and put an end to all of this confusion.
I think a lot of people would agree with you that, Dave. And by the way, if you notice, David, you notice though, not a single person said to you that you didn't have these experiences. Not a single person questioned your experience. The interpretation of it was different, but I didn't hear anybody say, "Hey, you're full of shit. This didn't ever happen to you." You
well, no, not really. Well, pretty much a lot of the theists or fundamentalists, I should say, that I've talked to and shared this story with, they don't say that either. They say, "Well, you had an experience, but how do you know it was from God? It might have been the devil trying to trick you." That sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a dumber explanation myself, but but it would be the militant atheist who would probably say, "Oh, well, you didn't have this experience," and I don't like that approach. I think people in this type of form give accurate, what they believe, accurate representations of their experience. Now, do I think Shannon's right? I think people do misunderstand their things that have happened. I think they do have a recollection that's faulty a lot of times on these.
I really don't want this to be an hallucination. I really don't.
Well, you're going to have to ponder that. I mean, the only person that can answer that is you, obviously.
I wouldn't tell you that you didn't have this experience because I don't know that, right?
Right, but there are people that probably would, and that's the kind of dishonest people that I don't want to deal with. I like to have people
admit that there was the
principle of charity.
You might think that it was an hallucination, but it whether it was a hallucination or something real, it did happen. And
all right, well, we'll continue on. We'll have more about the discussion. I know Heretic had brought up a good thing about bringing some people on to talk more about these things, and I intend to. We have a lot of things planning in the next couple of weeks, starting next year. So, with that, I'm going to end this. I'm going to bring this to a close. I just wanted you guys, have a quick discussion about why I'm having some reservations debating these guys over there. I think people understand why I do. I'm not trying to chicken out. I'm not trying to say, oh well, I'm too scared to debate these guys. I don't really know why I would. I don't know. If somebody wants to see a debate on something, I'm down for it as far as if they give me something of interest for me to debate. Like the turbine thing with the ATP synthase, I was okay. That's cool, but I don't really want to sit there and debate evidence for evolution because I don't have that information readily available. You know, go talk to a freaking evolutionary biologist if that's the thing you want. I'm okay with that. I'll listen to that.
Or go talk to Ronnie. Wait, bad idea. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Never mind.
That's true.
I would like to see Ronnie and G-Man debate or something. That would be more interesting to me.
Like, yeah, if you want to learn
think
about
the
evolutionism, talk to a Nephilim free, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
which one's Nephilim free and which one's true?
It doesn't matter. They're the same person at this point.
Might as well be.
Midnight, give us the last word. I got to get going. Midnight, say something. Give us the last word.
Bye.